Welcome to Girls Run These Worlds and our fifth episode of Mice in the Herb Garden, a Mausritter campaign. Uh, my phone is immediately making noise. Sorry about that. So we are playing Mausritter, which is a game by Isaac Williams. You can find it over on itch.io or on mausritter.com if you want to play it yourself. And in a moment, I'll remind you all what happened last time. But first of all, I should probably introduce myself and our lovely players. So my name is Philippa Moore. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm going to go around on my screen for our lovely players. Remember, tell us who you are and tell us about your character. And this time, I want to know what is your character's favorite autumnal food? Uh, so I'm going to start on my screen. Taylor, first, please.
Hi, I'm Taylor. I use she, her pronouns. Today I'm playing Apple Fritter, who is a blacksmith mouse who is injured now, as per the results
Yes.
of the last episode. I think Apple's favorite autumnal treat. I've been thinking about this lately because I like this treat, and I think that a mouse would also really like it. But specifically, the candy corn pumpkins because
Mm-hmm.
the texture of those is like different than the candy corn, and I think a mouse would really like kind of like shaving away at one of those what are they called, mallow something pumpkins.
Cute.
I think a mouse would like that.
Excellent. Next up, Angela.
Hello there, lovelies. It's wonderful to be back here for an entire episode this time. I promise I am not leaving midway through. And I am playing Susie Fayhart, who also uses she, her pronouns. She is our group's feral librarian who, despite at times actively courting death's arrival, appears to be the most uninjured of the group, and whose favorite autumnal snack would probably be something like heavy on cinnamon or like pumpkin
Mm.
spice. I I'm inclined to think some variation on like snickerdoodle cookies, but just with more pumpkin spice or like nutmeg and cinnamon, or carrot cake, because I know how to make
Mm.
carrot cake and I make it very good.
Nice. Next up, Ella.
Hello, my name is Ella Watts. I use she, her pronouns. My character is called Tabitha Thistle, who also uses she, her pronouns. She is a cider brewer who, much like Apple Fritter, is currently quite injured for reasons that were very reasonable at the time. Um, her favorite autumnal snack. So I love, it's kind of autumn into winter, but I love roasted chestnuts. And when you walk through certain parts of London at this time of year, outside like the British Museum and stuff, there's roasted chestnuts. And I think for a mouse, right, we couldn't eat the whole chestnut. That would be huge. So what I'm imagining is that the
East.
mice have like a kind of paper thin slice of the chestnut that's been like
Ooh.
candied, so it's kind of crisp, and you kind of break off bits of it like a kind of like tablet or something and have that, and it's kind of like a candied chestnut.
Oh, that sounds so good. Amazing. And last but not least, Rue.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rue. My pronouns are she, her. I play Elchi Morrow, whose pronouns are all or she, they. And I think they like sampling the seasonal items in different places. So they see like what the special item of like each town that they visit, which is kind of similar to me. I tend to do that with coffee shops a lot. I will go to like all the coffee shops and find out what their little specialty lattes and stuff are. And I also during the season try all pumpkin things. I am not entirely sure I like pumpkin things, but I am determined to taste them all anyway. I like the idea of it.
I'm very much the same. I agree with you on that. I want to like them. I'm not sure I do.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happened last time? Yes. So a quick reminder of what happened last session. You all went with Merida, the fox, over to the cottage and found your way through into the cottage via a little window. Um, at which point Merida insisted she did not want to come inside as she did not get on with the cat. And you all interpreted that in different ways. And inside, you discovered that the potion that you're trying to work out the source of had spilled all over the floor, creating a floor is lava situation. And you also worked out, you deduced from the lack of cat toys and from the graduation photos on the stand that the witch and the cat are in fact the same person. The human witch and the cat are the same person. You also you managed to navigate the floor is lava by climbing over some fairy lights. Some of you dropped down into the kitchen where you saw the witch's cauldron had bubbled over with the potion, which was then going everywhere. Elchie and Tabitha rode a slug very bravely and carefully with some treats. Meanwhile, Susie and Apple decided to try using the paper aeroplane on the living room desk. Susie got distracted reading a book while Angela was away streaming. And Apple and Azalea attempted to fly in the aeroplane. However, Apple was unsuccessful at launch and fell into the potion onto the floor, hurting herself. This led to more antics as Tabitha went to try and help. We got Apple up, but then in the process of flying back around to find what Elchie was doing over near the herb cabinet, Tabitha was attacked by a fly as she was flying in the aeroplane through the fly zone. And Elchie also stuck her sword into the potion, which made it sticky and got stuck to the cabinet and so could not help initially, leading to Tabitha getting bit by the fly and getting injured. But you did manage to fend it off and scare it away and deduce that some more herbs had fallen into the potion, causing it to sort of react, and that was what was causing the fizzing, particularly the herbs St. John's wort and yarrow, which are very sort of reactive. We finished up Apple recovering on the desk, noticing the cat, Saskia, the witch cat, walking out of the bedroom and saying, "Thank goodness you're finally here. I need your help." And that's where we stopped. And I think that's about where we should probably start again. So to find our positions again, so everyone's back up. No one is actually incapacitated. I believe everyone's been healed. But Tabitha and Apple do both have an injured condition, which does affect you. I believe it gives you disadvantage on strength and dex saves. So keep that in mind while that is in your inventory and taking up an inventory slot as well, of course. And Susie, you've been looking through, there's been some human books, and we also decided last time that human writing is the same as mouse writing, but it's just really big, like sort of standing really close to a sign that's like towering over you, so it takes you a while to read it. So you've probably been reading a few pages, learning about some magical lore on herbs and crystals and things like that. But yeah, so Apple and Susie, yes, you've looked up to see this tabby cat with one grey ear come out of the bedroom, and Apple, you had succeeded on your understanding languages check, and heard her, yes, saying, I'm so glad you're here. I need your help. These paws are useless.
I think the last thing Apple said was something like, "You need help from me," which is what I think like people, the other people who are far away heard. So I think Apple is just like, I mean, what could we do to? We might need help from you because this potion that you made is getting everywhere. It's getting into the water. It's hurting the frogs. I just fell in some of it and it hurt me.
I know. Well, that's what I've been trying to work out how to sort, but I'm not used to having paws, so I don't know how to stop it.
I don't see how that's any different than anything. I mean, paws are perfectly fine. Apple's like holding out her paws. I've never had a problem. I guess you're getting used to it, but well, wait a minute. If you have paws and we have paws, then how can we help you if it's a paw problem?
Well, I'm not used to having paws, is what I'm saying. I'm used to having thumbs, and now I don't have any thumbs.
So it's anyway, it's not the paws.
Yes, I was hoping that maybe you could help me.
Yeah.
She's like waving one paw up and down.
I think Susie was about to start telling like Apple Fritter. It's like no, and as a human, she's used to having an additional digit that is not technically within the classification of a finger. But people debate about this sort of thing all the time. But in the current understanding of mouse to human biological affairs, we do firmly understand that the thumb is very useful.
Well, I guess we can try to be your thumbs, and like looks at the still like not exactly sure about how we're gonna be helping.
Yeah. The cat also, Saskia has jumped up onto like there's like a little chair. Actually, so I should put us over onto that map, shouldn't I?
Oh, yeah.
Where you were last time. Let me move us over. Not the wrong one. There we go. Cottage. Yeah, Saskia sort of jumps from the armchair over to the little chair by the desk so that she can put her paws up on the desk to talk to you a bit more clearly. And you do see she has a little collar, and it has like 3 gems on it that are similar shape to sort of spell tablets as well.
Ooh.
And yeah, so she sort of puts her paws up and says like, well, anyway, I definitely want to fix this potion problem, but yes, it requires perhaps more effort than one cat can manage. And her head's like really big compared to you now, just like looking over it.
Yeah. Apple just like kind of looking up, looks over at Susie and is like, I think we could help you. But now Apple is like, we signed a contract, like mentally is like, we signed a contract with this other person, and so is like kind of like, yeah, we can help, but like isn't sure if that goes against what we signed, and so is just kind of like confused.
Philippa, what were the specifics written into the contract that we signed that
Yes.
we have to do for
your specifics were, let me get that. So Merida promised not to eat any of you. Also promised not to eat anyone that she was sure was from Basildon Hall while the contract was ongoing. In return, she also wanted to work out the source of the potion, and asked that you get her a sample of it. And she said that she wants to help with finding the source to stop the spill.
So she had also said that she wanted access to the cottage, but that wasn't part of what we signed, right? That was just like...
she was like, I want some of the potion at the very least.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I think Apple looks at Susie and is like, I think we'd like to help. We do have a couple of other friends that I think are in the other room. I'm not sure what's going on with them.
Yes, well, shall we zoom over to Tabitha and Elchie, who are currently, I believe, on top of the counter of the herb cabinet in the kitchen, having fended off this fly, which has buzzed off towards the plates in the sink. Tabitha feeling a bit worse for wear.
I gotta say, Elchie, I always thought, I knew flies were dangerous, but I didn't believe them. I didn't listen. I should have listened to me old ma. She always used to say that one day a fly would get me if ever I thought to dare to enter the skies in the way that the birds do.
She is like, I don't know what she was talking about. Come back from the light, Tabitha. No. You're saying nonsense.
I thought the light was where the cottage was, but you're right. All right, I'll go into the darkness. And she starts to shut her eyes.
No, wait. I think I got this backwards.
In all seriousness, I think Tabitha, like after some dramatics, kind of lifts herself up. And it's like, thank you for helping with that fly. You're very fast on your feet.
Oh, we should say also, we just got raided by Horde of Tails. Hello, Horde of Tails. Thank you for joining us. We're playing some Mausritter. But yes. So you still have the aeroplane, which is kind of scooted onto the side as well. A little battered, but it probably would still work. And you do see the slug is still kind of scooting around through the potion slowly back and forth, although it is looking quite bloated,
Yeah.
shall we say?
It's
That's
big
right.
Veruca salt in
Yeah.
Leonka.
Yeah.
I'm very worried about that slug.
We're
Well,
looking worse for wear.
are you all right? Because I came out here because we were worried about you because you were taking so long. Did you find anything out about the potion?
I did, yeah. She like kind of looks into pockets and then she's like, I didn't write anything down. It was Saint John's wort and yarrow. Those were the herbs that fell into it that are all broken at the bottom. And then I was trying to get some potion. I don't remember if I successfully actually got any of the
I
potion.
think you did. Yeah, you got a
Okay.
little bottle full. Yeah.
Okay, so I like pull out this like really big bottle and I'm like, I got some of the purest version of this potion for Merida, and then like slots it back. I got stuck to the potion is what happened down there.
No.
I guess it sometimes gets sticky, or maybe it sticks to snake fangs. I'm not really sure, but it was really stuck, like really, really sticky. And I saw that fly attacking you, and I couldn't do anything. All I could do was watch Tabitha.
Oh, well, it's all right now.
She
I'm
just
like,
starts sobbing.
oh, so Tabitha is kind of stands up and she's like limping a bit. I think what I've decided is that she got like bit on her shoulder and on her tummy.
Mhm.
And so she's got like these little like rusty blood patches on her fur because she got a
Aw.
little bit injured. But she's like also so worried about you because she's like very mothering person that she's just kind of like patting you with her paws and being like, no, it's all right, it's all right. You continue to be my absolute favorite, and I'm fine. You know, I was due to have a couple of little hard knocks, and now I learned. And what I learned is that the air is a godless place for a mouse. Okay. But you know,
You're
it's
so right. We should have never tried to fly. It wasn't our place to try to change our biological location.
No, you know, I do think that all birds perhaps need to be stopped, but that's a conversation for another day. For now, I'm not really sure how we're going to get back because that slug does not look very happy. However,
Yeah,
we
that
had
slug looks concerning. It really is not a good idea for it to be just rolling through that potion. I feel like we look over and it's just like like having a little bath.
Yeah, it's
like
like
a
rolling.
dog.
And then it stops and is like drinks a bit more.
No.
I also really don't want to, if it does, you know, I really don't want to be near it. It's been
Yes.
consuming a lot of potion, and I'm worried what will happen if we get sprayed with like concentrated digested potion. That feels like extra bad, not just because it would be disgusting. So however, in the other room on the table, there was like a big sort of powerful wind creating magical device. I assume some kind of witch thing, like a constant spell tablet or something, that we could sort of press and then it created weather. And we don't have that here, and the counter is not that high. So I'm not really sure. I think perhaps the safest thing to do would be to try to climb up the wall and get back onto the fairy lights and go that way instead of trying to use the plane.
Yeah. I think we should stick to climbing. That's what we can do. We can climb. I think we should just go with that. All their misadventures of me going back to our roots of climbing.
So on this side, there aren't any fairy lights, but there are some there's like a kitchen calendar and like a little cork board and things. So it'll be a little bit more tricky to climb this side. If you do some prep, you can do it. But if you kind of just go for it, you would need to do a deck save to not fall off.
So I just did a big face expression because what I'm wondering is, with the corkboard, could we like get the pins in our little paws and use them like little
Oh,
crampons
yes.
to climb up
Oh,
the
yes.
corkboard?
Yes, you can. Oh, yes, you can. Yes.
Little ice pick.
Little ice pick to
Can only end well, everybody.
Yes, you definitely can do that. I love that idea.
All right, well, perhaps we're gonna scamper over to the little corkboard and like pull a bit out.
Pull out bits.
Perhaps we can use these to help us climb up here. And then once we got into the top, kind of looking up at it, I think maybe we'll follow along and then we get to the door and climb over and we'll get back onto the little string of lights. Are you all right? Because I that nasty little fly, it really got me. But did it get you at all? Are you okay?
It kind of hit me in the shoulder, and it's like kind of dirty on like their shoulder, but it looks like mostly just sort of like it very surface level. They don't look super hurt. And Elchie kind of like flexes up a little bit and is like, Fly couldn't take Elchie Morrow down. But they do see like your injuries, and I think they pull out like their water skin to try to at least clean that up because that looks pretty bad.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't know. I always hear from people that flies are they'll just sit on anything. So I feel like we should just clean this up a little bit.
All right then. Oh, ow, 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 ow.
So you
Sorry.
do a bit of cleaning, and I think we already had you take like a short rest last time.
I think so,
Um,
yeah.
And I think if you use the pins, you can make your way over quite cleverly and carefully past a large like local plumbers sign and like various human pamphlets for things, town hall jamboree, etc. And can slowly make your way over until you can hook back onto the fairy lights, and you see, looking down, you see Susie and Apple talking with a cat.
Oh no.
So I think
do you think it cast a spell on them?
I know. She's like, no, the cat's gonna get them. the fly was the least of our worries, Tabitha.
I have no idea what I'm gonna do. The fly nearly killed me, and that cat is so much bigger. That cat is at least 50 flies. At least. I think it might be substantially more.
So I'm gonna say Apple's like understand check covers her and Susie, but I think it would be fun if one of you did a will save to see if you can understand the cat, because currently you're just hearing Apple talk to it and it going meow 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 meow.
I almost wondered if like we're also hearing Apple say like meow, and we're like,
meow,
no,
meow. Oh, maybe. Yeah.
What's happening?
We definitely think that Apple has been like enchanted by the cat. Like,
so it's just a will save. If you succeed, you can understand. If not, you cannot. I believe.
I dramatically failed. My will is 6 and I rolled a 15.
Good.
All right, let's see. I rolled a 14. My will is a 9.
We
Meow,
need
meow,
to
meow,
save
meow,
Apple
meow,
from
meow.
the cat.
Yeah. Like, meow 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 meow.
That sounded like a threat. I can tell a threat when I hear it. I don't need to know the language.
Well, I remember with your clarinet, you knew how to speak frog. So, like, I trust you. I reckon you're a musician's ear. You got a way of understanding these things.
Yeah, I understand rhythm, and that sounds like a threatening rhythm to me. Now she's like ready to like dive in on this cat. But probably will like take a slightly safer path instead of just jumping onto its back.
So there's like some more fairy lights along this way that you can kind of get down onto the table, and the cat and Apple and Susie are over this side of the table, opposite sides. Apple and Susie, I'm not sure if you're busy talking to the cat. Do you think you'd be looking around for the other two?
I
go
would
ahead.
solely
Sorry,
by
Julie.
nature of wanting to make sure everyone's okay.
That's true, yeah. So maybe you start seeing as Elchie is shivering their way down the light and waving the sword. So yeah, as sort of meeting across the table, yeah, what does everyone do? Elchie, what does Elchie do to start with?
I think Elchie is trying to like sneak attack. So if I catch your eye, Susie, I'm just like and just like has their like sword up and they're like making a lot of complicated like paw gestures.
I think Susie doesn't quite understand what you're trying to
Yeah.
say, so just loudly says, "Are you trying to say something to me? You need to speak up."
No.
You
She's
see,
like it's over. I can't sneak it, and just like starts running.
Apple and Susie, you hear the cat going, "Oh, your friends made it back." Elchie, you hear meow, 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 and like see the cat raise a paw, which
Oh,
Apple is
no.
like, "Oh, waving," and you're like,
I think Apple also turns around and is like trying to say like, "Oh, guys," like, and try, but forgets that she's been speaking cat, so turns around and just like meow, 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 just still meowing.
How dare you turn my friends into tiny cats?
The slow-mo horror film that's happening here in like bullet time as we all like misinterpret and we're
Yeah.
coming together and it's about to be like
Yeah, I think Elchie is I'm gonna say they like try to stab their paw or something. I
Sure.
think it would be
Yeah.
interesting if they just go for it.
Yep. So attacks always hit. So roll your damage.
I forget. Damage is
Your snake fang in one paw is a d6 or in two paws is a d8.
okay. I think I went for using two paws.
God.
So gonna try that.
Max damage.
So a
Cat
D8.
dies. We are so screwed.
Oh my god. Okay, I rolled a 3. it was not
Not so bad.
the worst.
Just get my cat stats.
Health of a cat. What section of the book is
I
this
got
listed
it. Okay, 3. That's fine. Yeah. Donk. Stab you sort in to the paw that's like on the floor, and the cat kind of is like, "Oh, ow!" and just sort of flicks you off a bit and back towards the other side of the table.
Yeah.
Doesn't attack you, but just basically like pushes you back.
Mhm.
You know how like a cat sometimes, if it's playing with a mouth, will like just hold it and just sort of holds you down. So if you want to try and get back up, you could do a strength save to try and like or an opposed strength check against this cat.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and try it just because I feel like Elchie probably would try to fight it.
It's a lot nicer than I was imagining scenario. I thought Philippa was describing like, you know, when a cat picks up like its litter like by the neck.
Oh yeah,
and
no.
like set it down somewhere else. I thought Elchie was just like, no. You're bitey. You're gonna go in the timeout part of the table.
I fully failed that strength check. I got a 16.
Yeah, Saskia got a 1, which is as good as possible. So yeah, it's just that like boop, holds you down and then basically just carries on talking to Apple. So you just hear meow 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 meow, and it's like, so your friends are here. I guess they don't understand what I'm saying, but never mind.
Elchie is like squirming like ridiculously. Just you see them like every once in a while a paw comes out, another one, and they're just like wiggling.
I think Apple goes over like and to Elchie and is kind of like worried and it's like, Elchie, the cat's helping us. And this time I'm speaking in mouse.
Yeah.
the cat's helping us. We're helping the cat. I don't really know, but like it's good. It's good that we're talking to her. She's the witch and she's the cat and she has the paws. She normally has hands. And she just needs our help.
I think Elchie stops moving, mostly because they're just really confused by everything that you're explaining. So they're just like, what? So you just see like them like calm down, and
Yeah.
you just hear like a muffled like what?
The cat takes the paw off. What's Tabitha doing also as this is happening? Presumably showing you down as well.
I think that like Tabitha is a little bit slower than Elchie, but then as soon as she's on the table, like essentially rugby tackles Susie, because when Susie starts like talking out loud whilst Elchie is trying to be quiet, like Tabitha's like, no. Susie, and like kind of runs forward, rugby tackles Susie. The effort of this, I think, does make Tabitha start bleeding again. So Tabitha is like bleeding like on her little mouse body and just like tackles Susie to the ground and is like holding you down. And I think with that origami around the table is trying to like hide underneath an origami, like and is just like, all right, I think if we stay very, very still, it might not notice us, but we need to do something to go help Elchie. Do you have your acorn grenade launcher?
Tabitha, friend, is this flirting?
No, we're gonna die.
Susie's
From
like,
what?
you're not disproving what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's like I'm not. It's I got a flashback to Futurama of Zoidberg of all people going, "I'm not hearing a no."
Yeah, straight up.
But I think she just carries on as like, what are we in danger from?
The cat. The cat.
Oh, the cat's helping us. Or well, we're gonna help the cat,
Oh
and I think the cat is
no,
interested in talking
it's
to us.
enchanted you as well.
To my knowledge, there hasn't been any sort of enchantment or other manner of spellcasting which has been placed upon me, to my knowledge. And frankly, I feel like if I were enchanted by the cat, wouldn't I be being a little bit more active to try and push you away? I like the company. This closeness is very warm and cozy. Just like snuggled up against you because you said you tackled her.
Yeah.
I imagine you're both lying under the wing of like a little origami swan, just like.
I'm imagining this fully like Tabitha is kind of like leaning over the top of Susie, and Susie is just like on her back underneath Tabitha, and it's just like, ooh, cuddles, and Tabitha is like, we're gonna die.
We're gonna die. Well, I mean, worst place is to cuddle right before you die.
I think Tabitha, because she's still kind of moving from the we're about to die phase of her brain, it like gets like her little mousy eyes get a little bit shiny as she's like nearly cries, and she's just like, all right. I well, if you're sure, and she kind of like just absently like just pats the top of Susie's head like just to reassure herself that Susie's okay, and then she's like, uh, say something that you would only say if you weren't enchanted. Something that's like properly Susie. Tell me a quote of something.
She like reaches her hand over and she like brushes away the tears and also like is looking at like the bleeding that is happening from you as well. He's like, Bran, you don't need to be worried about me and or dying, because the fear of death only follows from the fear of life. Someone who lives fully prepared to die at any time is fully ready for life and death, and I am ready for both. I like this look on you. It's a little bit more feral than you normally do. It's pretty cool.
Thank you. Well, I suppose I wanted to go for adventuring, and now I'm going to have some scars from a fly. Turns out flying is not where we should be. Susie, I gotta tell you, I've got a whole manifesto I've been working on in my head. I think I'm gonna put it up if I get back to the Applewood Inn, I'm gonna make a sign. It's just gonna remind everyone every time they come in, never try to fly, because you will be eaten by a fly. You won't fall. You think you'll fall. You think that would be the danger, but no, it's the flies.
I have read many accounts that flies do at times serve beings which may be referred to as godless, and the space which they inhabit may be interpreted as a godless space.
That's what I was saying to Elchie. See? I swear to goodness.
Also,
this is...
I've been slowly moving the origami off of us so
Yeah.
that the cat can see, like giving like a very like slow
Yeah.
thumbs up in the direction of the cat, like we're good over here.
Yeah.
Calm down.
Yeah, I think that maybe brings you all more in line again. Yeah, Elchie the cat lets you up as well. And I think the cat also then reaches up with one paw and taps the leftmost tablet on her collar, which sort of glows, and it's a be understood spell. So you can now understand her properly. And she's like, is this thing on? A little bit of feedback. Like, okay, there we go. Can everyone understand me now?
Susie, the cat is talking. The cat is talking. It's talking, Mouse. I don't think that's not allowed.
To my knowledge, most creatures are in possession of some form of sentience which allows them to speak, so I don't think this is unheard of.
Yes, but it's a cat. If they can speak our languages, then they can seduce us with their words into their waiting fangs.
Are you interested in being seduced by a cat, friend? This is a
No,
particular
I don't
interest that
want
you had
to
never
die.
expressed to me before. I support you in your interests.
This is no. I mean, I got. Listen, some people would say a little death is a very desirable thing, but I personally would prefer not to be eaten in that way.
Hearing that, the cat says, "You need not worry, small friend, as I am not actually a cat. I only appear to be a cat. I don't intend to eat you."
But isn't that what a cat who could speak mouse would say?
That's very true. I can only prove that I let your friend go, even though she stabbed me in the paw. And then Saskia starts licking her paw where she was stabbed by Algie.
Algie's just like got her little fang and is like, and I'll do it again.
I'm sure you would. I'm sure you would, and I would prefer if you didn't.
Well, then, how do you feel about cider?
When I am a human, I enjoy cider very much.
Susie, I think we can trust her.
I'm happy to know that the simplest way to convince you for anyone to convince you is just to say that they like cider, whether they are telling the truth or not.
I just think it builds character, you know? I mean, it's hard to believe that someone who doesn't like cider is inherently a person of good taste.
Just nodding, but like very sagely, as though you've uttered like the most profound secret of the universe. It's just like, such truths have never been uttered before, and never will they be uttered with the same level of importance ever again.
So, I'm sorry, Apple, what?
Okay, so the cat is the witch.
Yes.
And the cat needs our help because she's a cat and not a human with thumbs, which I'm told are important. And so the cat's asking us to be her thumbs, essentially, is what I'm understanding. In a metaphorical sense, not in a literal sense.
What's wrong with a paw? I've never had a problem with just
That's
using my
what I
paws.
was saying as well. I think a paw is perfectly nice.
Saskia waves her very large paw and is like, I have nothing against these. They're fine. They're just not the same as what I'm used to. It's more of a temporary problem. But we don't have that long before more problems could arise from this potion spilling everywhere.
I have to ask, why are we all talking in a tone, like, especially around the thumb-related matters? Why are we talking like we were the people who first meeting the person who first invented writing, and we're just like, why don't you want to just memorize everything? What's the problem with just doing that? We have that kind of tone going for us right now.
I think it's just that there's something very fun to me about being mice and then having a very different context in looking at human stuff, right? Like it's just like it makes me happy.
Yes.
I think Apple says, I do actually have a question for you. Pointing to the cat.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you just turn back into a witch?
Well, and she extends one claw like a little finger. That is one of the things I need your help with. I am a little bit stuck. The potion in its original form is what allowed me to change into a cat in the first place. But it becoming corrupted means I can't use it to change back. And I need a sample of the pure potion to be able to change back into my human form.
Where is the pure potion?
if, say, we were able to get some from the base of the potion underneath the layer that's fizzing on top, and of course, Elchie knows that she also has managed to do some of that. But yeah, so she explains, yes, you'd need to get some from the base of the potion, which, I would not be able to reach. I don't think I'd be able to reach down into there with a bottle as well and get it out. But yes. So that's one thing I need help with. If I can turn back into a human, then it'll make it much easier for me to clear up the rest of this mess. And I also, yes, want to clear up the rest of the spill because it would be bad if it got into contact with other creatures, as you have experienced.
It has been bad. I think Apple saying it has been bad turns and looks at her tail, which is like very like if this was a cartoon would be like a lightning bolt instead of a tail is all like crunkled up from falling and then being in the potion. And I think like is kind of like has her hand on her back a little bit from the fall is how I'm imagining like the injured condition looking for Apple. And says, okay, is there an easier way? Because Apple doesn't know that Elchie has the potion. So, is there an easier way that you think we could get to it? Because the airplane, I was really excited for, and then I think it didn't go very well.
She says, well, the other option would be to regather the ingredients and remake it, but they're all in the kitchen, also surrounded by the potion, and in the cupboard. But we could make a small new batch, I suppose.
Yeah, I think Elchie is just like, kind of pulls the bottle out and is like, too bad all we have is just this little amount of potion in this container. If only we had more. And then just like puts their like paws around it and is like looking.
Oh, and she's like, oh, that would be the perfect amount, just the right amount for me to change back.
And like Elchie starts to, and then is like, wait, I remember we were supposed to do something else with this potion. And like kind of looks at everybody else.
So yeah, Elchie, her saying that you realize this would be enough for either Saskia to have one dose or Merida to have one dose, just so everyone's on the same page, as you have deduced.
If you're really not a cat, then you won't mind if me and my fellow adventurers briefly confer.
Very well. If you have any questions for me, I would be happy to answer them. But yes, please do. And she sort of turns away and grooms her paw a little more.
Thank you. And I'll just say, if you are actually a cat and you're going to eat us, you should feel terrible about going back on your word afterwards. Okay. And I hope you get bad indigestion.
I'm not going to eat you, I promise.
Okay. I'm just going to kind of gesture for the others to come and like go to another side of the table so we can talk about this. So, I mean, we can either give it to one witch or the other.
Signed a contract with the other witch, and she was very clear that she would eat us if given a chance, whereas this cat has said pretty clearly that she won't eat us either way.
On the other hand, we got no reason to believe Merida won't eat us or mice from Basildon Hall once the contract is over. Or at least she said she wouldn't eat us after the contract was over, but she did say that she said that she would only not eat mice from Basildon Hall during the contract. And if this cat is a human could deal with a fox in a way that we just couldn't back at Basildon. Like, if Merida fought us, we got nothing against her. But if Saskia stopped Merida, it wouldn't be such a problem for her because humans are huge. Humans are so big. And she's a powerful enough witch to have made this potion in the first place. And Merida seems a little bit scared of her.
That's true. We would be going back on our word.
That's true. And also working with a cat, which just feels wrong, you know?
What would people at Basildon say if they knew?
Would
They
people
knew
even
you
come to
have-
my inn?
All of you have reputations to lose. I am a pariah at best.
Susie.
Oh no,
You're a
I'm quite
delight.
happy with this. It means that I can go digging around in trash and no one will judge me. At least openly. Perhaps they do so behind closed doors or when I'm not listening, but
Hmm.
cannot live for other people's opinions. Or rather, I have no control over them.
That's true. What do you think, Susie?
Well, I will say, the specifics of the contract that we signed simply said that we just needed to give her some manner of pure potion. That was it. That doesn't mean that we can't help our witch friend at all, and if she gives us a sample after she has already taken enough to get her back, whether or not we get the pure batch from underneath or we make the whole batch, we have technically not broken our word to either one of them. Because one, we've not made a contract to this witch, points at the cat, and technically the fox, the way that we written it and the way that I asked her to specifically put it down in writing, she simply asked for a pure potion sample, correct, Philippa? Am I remembering that correctly? She did not say the manner in which it needed to be delivered, and she did not say we had to be by ourselves in a vulnerable state. We could come with our witch friend, and she could help us give the sample, and hell, she could even just give it on a leaf so that it has a possibility to fall over and spill so that it does not affect anyone else in a negative manner. Technically, given the spirit of what we have written out, that still fulfills the contract requirement of give her some of the potion. She did not ask it to be in a bottled form. She did not say it was safely delivered to her. She simply said and wrote it down as she wants some of the potion. So technically, we don't break anything doing this.
That's true. She also didn't say that it had to be the original potion. So if we got the ingredients, we could brew a new version of the potion. We could ask Saskia if she turns back into a human. We could just say, what are the ingredients? And then we could make it for her somewhere safe in a smaller container so that it didn't get out of control. And maybe not add the St. John's wort and yarrow to it, because that was what Elchie, you said that was the thing that made it.
Option as well. So I suppose this might involve a certain level of malice towards our fox friend, but considering that she was openly contemplating consuming us, that might merit some sort of retaliation. My thought is that we simply ask our witch friend, once we have helped her return to her normal state, or whatever form she considers her normal state, for a sample of potion that turns Merida into a mouse.
Personally, I feel safer with a human than with a fox. Because even though humans sometimes kill mice, they mostly don't really eat us. And also, some humans really like mice and they keep pictures of us and everything. Whereas foxes pretty universally eat mice. They don't keep pictures of us. And if they see us, they will just have a snack on us. So my instinct is to go with the human ally over the fox ally. But I still think we should honor our word to Merida and give her a sample of the potion. I'm a little bit worried about what Merida wants to do with the potion. But if we give her a sample of the potion that's clean and not the sort of superpowered, broken, poison, strange one that has the arrow and St. John's wort, hopefully she won't be able to do much. Maybe we should check with Saskia what the original potion was supposed to do before it all went wrong.
I think Apple kind of like raises like a finger and says, I think the potion is what turns her into a cat and back into a human, which something else to consider is if we give this potion to Merida, then maybe she will turn into a human who doesn't like mice and doesn't have pictures of mice in her home. And then we have two humans, and even if Saskia is friendly to us, I don't know if she's going to be that invested in protecting us from another witch.
And humans can fight humans really easily. A human against a fox, well, the human wins that fight, but a human against a human, well, what if Merida won?
I consider the option of turning Merida into a mouse, but that's just me.
I'd also like to remind you of two pieces of information you had learnt previously that might be relevant to this. So, Apple, you had found some notes on Saskia's desk with a drawing of a fox and notes about how the fox is very foolish and does not understand the powers that she is interested in. And Angela, I believe Susie had found some information about the observatory mice who were being pressured by Merida to sort of work out how to back engineer different potions. So that's just some information for you that might be relevant.
We have alchemists whose labor is being extorted currently, and as good union-abiding folks, we must allow the workers to rise up against their terrible oppressor.
No, we should definitely dismantle this protection racket. No, you know what? I'm coming around on this. I reckon we help Saskia, and then we ask her for her help in dealing with Merida. And we say our price for helping her is that she helps us stop Merida being a problem and save the observatory mice. Because...
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
No, that was kind of the end of the sentence. Like, I thought it would sound more heroic if I'd finished on a full stop, but then I started a second sentence and now I undermined myself, but never mind.
Well, on the subject of the contract, I have been thinking, because in my experiences as a crafts person, a contract signed under duress is not normally considered legally binding. So, if I had someone at knife point and made them sign a contract, I think at Basildon we could get away with saying we broke a contract, but we only signed it because the option was being eaten. And I think our honor would be maintained.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. And Elchi, you must have experience of contracts as a musician as well, right?
Mm-hmm. I mostly just sign whatever is given to me, though.
You need a manager.
I'll just like signing, like, yeah, sure. That's a lot of words.
You're getting like no rights on the back end, like no royalties, nothing.
For some reason, I can't play this song that I wrote anymore.
Oh no.
I hope our viewers are enjoying this episode of juridical interpretation and music rights.
Listen, as creative freelancers, we are here to make jokes about creative freelancing and contract writing, which is obviously the content you came here for when you saw our stream advertises Mice in the Herb Garden. You really thought that it was going to be just super close to reality and dealing with like human contemporary 2022 workers' rights.
I decided to just take this in stride and just imagine that because Apple and Susie have taken it upon themselves to take the legal approach of evaluating these contracts, our outfits for some reason turn into Phoenix Wright outfits.
You all sprout little wings.
Looking at this. His hair is oddly sharp now for some reason.
There's just like a little cartoon puff of smoke that like changes us, and then like once we finish discussing it, like puffs again, and we go back into like cottagecore.
Yeah. Everything is like bright colors, primary. One of us is like,
just keep doing the same,
It's just the fighting game kind of bounce, but it's with contracts. It's like right.
One of you has a little gavel.
Yeah,
a little feather pen.
Yes. Okay.
No, all right. I reckon ask Saskia. And then if she turns on us, well, she was a dishonorable person anyway, and you can't be dishonored by a dishonorable person, as I have learned many times from my friendship with Azalea, who does not know what honor is and would not if is unsure.
Azalea here? You just call her dishonorable.
I'm imagining her like a couple of feet away, like, because I think that Tabitha's kind of like, we're having a grown-up conversation, but she could well have overheard it. I don't think Tabitha would have kept an inside voice. I think this is an ongoing thing where there's like something that happened a long time ago that Tabitha and Azalea never speak of out loud, but Tabitha has never forgiven Azalea for. And it's just like this like dark story, probably deeply convoluted, happened over several hours. There was a lot of alcohol.
Yes. Sorry, I missed a little bit of what you said just because my internet went a little funny for a second, but it sounds like it was you were saying.
I was just ragging on Azalea, honestly. It wasn't plot relevant.
In that case, Azalea goes, Not knowing what you said. But that, I mean, that feels like a Azealia thing to do anyway, staring off into the distance and not listening. So,
1000%.
100% instead of space cats, just instead of the cat's replaced with the mouse, and he's just staring off. It's like,
yeah. If you're still sort of discussing but getting a little louder, I do think Saskia sort of turns back around from grooming a paw, and it's like, again, any questions? I can't help but notice you mentioned the name Merida. If you need to know more about the fox, I have had some run-ins with her in the past.
I think. Angela, you're muted.
oh, am I?
Oh, there you are.
Okay, that was very weird for a second. I was like, I am not muted, friends. Don't tell me my audio's going. I don't need more things happening. I think Susie turns to her mouse friends and asks, "Friends, may I take the lead in this discussion with our cat friend?"
Mhm.
I think she does like a little determined tiny walk that in reality probably just looks kind of like a penguin waddle just going over.
Mhm.
Your name is Saskia, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So here is the situation. We have formally entered ourselves into a contract with Merida the Fox, by which we have indicated, and she takes the time to explain the specifics of the contract.
Yeah.
That is the state we are in. However, all of us have believe rightly determined that she is very likely to just not necessarily go back on the deal, but the moment the deal is fulfilled and she has what she wants, she will eat us. And while I am perpetually prepared for the grim hand of the Reaper to come and fetch my mouse body, I do not believe that my mouse friends are. And so we would like to, if possible, come to an accord with you regarding the situation. And if you have any additional information to provide helpful contextual understanding of our friend the fox, that would be most appreciated.
Oh dear. I thought that might have happened. Merida does love a contract and threatening to eat people who don't sign her contracts. So well, it may be easier for me to show you some of what we know. I have been working with the Ravens. I don't know if you have met any of them before, but they are blessed with, well, they call it prophecy. I think it is more a sort of attunement with what may happen. But they showed me some things that Merida very much desires to see what it is like to be a human. And she has petitioned me many times to use my magic to help her turn into a human. And I have explained to her many times that as a fox, she wouldn't understand the dangers of going out into the wide world. And if she was to stay within the forest, it would be fine. But I do not think that that is what she would do. And the ravens also think that if she were to turn human, bad things could happen. Or at least their prophecy suggests something bad could happen to the forest if this came to an end in that way.
I think there's a moment where like as she mentions the ravens, like Susie just starts like doing like very big bouncy up and down like flaps, like just
Yeah.
super excited and happy, and just also like quickly pulls out her book and like shows her the scrap of paper that she's been keeping all this time about
Saskia
Basil
perks
and
up and is like, ah, and that is another remnant of one of the Raven's prophecies. I see you've only got half of it. Perhaps they'd be able to tell you the other half if we were to visit them. They have many ways of sharing what they have seen. We would have to go into Raven's Roost, though. It is outside of the cottage. But I'm currently in my cat form able to, we brokered a deal to agree not to attack each other.
I'm amenable to that. I think she just also like tilts her head to the side over, and she just like yells over at Apple Fritter. Apple, you were right. Your suspicions about Merida were correct.
I give a thumbs up, pat myself on the back.
Tabitha pats you on the back. He's like,
not.
Very gently. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh dear. Oh no, this is all terrible. Oh, I'm a cursed mouse today. Perhaps forever. Perhaps this will never end.
Is that Ella's anxiety talking, or is
I think there's a little bleed there. I also think that Tabitha kind of looks over at where Susie is, and it's like, I don't remember your what's your prophecy, Susie?
I don't know if we've ever actually, because I really just heard it and knew it as sort of a piece of history.
Yes.
Connecting the Ravens to the building of Basildon Hall, but I didn't really know what the specifics are, so I'm happy to.
So
I'm happy for you to
your
fill in.
section talks about, yes, the founding of Basildon Hall, and I believe we said when we were planning it that there was some help from the Ravens sort of getting everything together and choosing the spot. And it sort of ends as it goes on to talk about the future of Basildon Hall. Like your part was the start and like sort of talking about the past, and then the second half would be what would talk about the future. But it's ripped on the section that would be about the future, so that's the part you haven't seen.
She relays that information.
Oh, we've also just had a raid from Alakazam. Thank you very much for joining us. We're playing some Mausritter, and we are discussing some Raven prophecies currently.
Yeah, which is fascinating. Oh my. Well, I suppose, I mean, it seems, now, don't get me wrong, I don't want to sort of put meaning into things that don't have it, because you have many quotes about that, and I do listen when you speak. But I am a little concerned about the fact, well, I don't know, it seems portentous for us to be investigating all of these grand things and then going to see the Ravens, and then maybe they have a prophecy about the future of Basildon Hall. It all feels like something huge is sort of coming to a climax or a conclusion of some kind. Like, and that's normally the most dangerous part of the story.
So, if you think it would be portentous for us to go, what do you think would be well-tentious for us to go?
Oh, that's a real question. I don't know. Maybe having some cider and an apple and a chestnut, you know? And blanket, a rest. I would love a rest. And as she's saying this, Tabitha with like her like bleeding like various wounds is like kind of swaying a bit, and it's like, and perhaps like hang on, and she just kind of plops down and sits on her little mouse butt and is just like, I say we go on the Ravens. No, but we walk. We don't fly.
Saskia sort of pipes up as you've plopped down. She's like, I can see, yes, you've been through a lot. Maybe we could go via Basildon Hall so you could have a moment's rest, and then you're welcome
to frog's doing?
Ride on my back. Yes, how is the frog doing? Ride on my back as we go over to the Ravens. They're not far away.
That's very kind of you. I will take you up on that. Not least because honestly, the amount of tourist traffic I'll get if I can say that the owner of this inn returned on the back of a cat, you would not believe. I'm big inside. I can make like cat-shaped like apple fritters. It would be a whole adrenaline junkie kind of thing. Elchie, perhaps I could commission you to make a song about it. We could have a jingle. That could be really interesting. Also, I would like to be back in my bed. So, yes. I like that idea very much. If the rest of you are all right with it, if we maybe go back to Basildon and heal a bit and actually finally return those herbs, because there is a certain very strapping young gardener who does need
Oh yes, I forgot we'd made Lovage a Giga
Just all of us like have heart like
the big anime heart eyes just suddenly appear across four mouses' eyes. Four mouse pair of eyes. Just
Lovage. Your mousy biceps.
There's just like a pan across of like this mouse like working in the garden. Looking all rugged.
Those fields.
We make the series an animated series, and every time we mention Lovage, the screen just changes, and a jingle specifically for Lovage comes in. It's like a 60s
He's
girl
flicking
group.
his fur back and forth.
I was imagining Lovage fully doing the Mr. Darcy Pride and Prejudice thing of like we just cut to Lovage coming out of like a pond or something, all like wet fur and like a little suit, like just being like and then we just pan across to the mouse groupies in Basildon Hall who stayed behind, who are like,
yes.
Anyway, in the present moment, I think Tabitha is just like, it's like, I would like to go home and maybe rest for a bit and bind my wounds. Elchie says that flies go all sorts of places, and I suppose if it bit me, perhaps it's gonna give me some kind of infection. And I mean, to considering my luck today, that would be what would happen. So if I died on your back though, again, that would be great for tourism.
It would be terrible for the world.
Oh wow.
Oh.
Celia pipes up and is like, I'd run the pub for you.
It would be terrible for the pub.
That's like all Tabitha needs to have the will to live. No, you won't.
Yeah, no, I think genuinely straight up as soon as Azalea says that, Tabitha's like, they like puffs up her little mousy chest and like gets her to her feet and is like, no, I have an obligation to the Applewood Inn. Saskia, take us home.
Okay. And Saskia on the chair sort of like kneels down a little so you can all climb on her back, which is much less if Merida's fur was like a little bit like slightly greasy from being outdoors and running around. Saskia's fur is very soft and fluffy, and you can all hold on to her collar, so it's less of a bumpy ride. And she carefully jumps over onto the armchair and away from the potion. She goes through the bedroom door, hops up onto the bed, and out through a window that is slightly ajar in the bedroom. And you go around the side of the house, and she takes you back to Basildon Hall. So I'll just move us over to our lovely Basildon Hall picture. And I think she drops you off sort of like a little way away, because she's aware that obviously her going right up would really scare a lot of the other mice. And drops you off at the nearest sort of, there's these like stepping stone flagstones creating a path through the garden, and there's one nearby, so she drops you off near the entrance to the herb garden, and you can make your way back to Basildon Hall. So while you are there, yes, you can have a rest, and also because you're bringing some goods back, we can give you some more XP. And viewers, what we've decided to do is, because I've already calculated all the XP and they're pretty close to leveling up, and because we're doing this as a series, we're going to let them level up now, just so you can also see how leveling up actually works. So they've all rolled this already, but basically they get to add another d6 to their health. They've rolled some new hit dice, and they've got a few increases on their strength, dexterity, and will. And they also get a grit space. So their inventories get this additional space that basically lets them ignore one condition. It goes into that slot, and it can't be cleared until they've fulfilled the proper conditions of the condition. But it just means that those that are injured are not able to kind of put that over and sort of basically tough through it, because after all their adventures. Where did you lose
You're
me?
back, but then you said everything very quickly.
I'm sorry.
No, it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't you. It was.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, I think my internet might being a little funny.
Viewership cast haste on Philippa. Please take it off of Philippa. No one wants the haste card member right now.
I've learned too much.
Yeah. So anyway, what was I saying? Yes, the grit slot. You can then use that to basically ignore one problem and tough it out. So you've already rolled all of that. You're all quite a lot stronger. In fact, I would love to go around and just hear what your new health is and what your old one was. So go in the same order. Taylor, what was your old one? What are you up to now?
Yeah. So just my health, is that what you said?
Yeah.
My hit protection was a 2, and it went up to an 8.
Cool. Angela, how's Susie doing?
She has gone from a robust 6 to a 7, so she has improved, though only moderately.
Yes. Ella, how is Tabitha doing?
I went from 2 health points, fly killable, to 11 hit points, slightly less, fly killable.
Nice.
Fly
nice.
killer.
And Rue, how is Elchie doing?
LG also went from a 6 to a 7.
Nice. Yes, so for those interested, if you roll basically whatever you roll the new one with your new 2d6 as opposed to 1d6, you go up to, but if you roll under your your earlier roll, you just earn 1. So you're always improving a little bit, but sometimes you get a lot buffer. So yeah, so you can also pass on any items you want as well, and sort through your inventory. But yeah, again, we'll kind of like sort of go reasonably quickly through that. For players, the information on all of those are in the notes. If you think like, oh, I have this thing, how much is it? It's all written down. So
I
yeah,
have
is there anything you want to do?
question about regarding
Ella
that.
does as well. Yeah.
Oh, Ellie, you can go first.
Oh,
I didn't see that you had your. I didn't see that you were.
I don't mind waiting. Oh well, now we're being very British.
Yeah. Ella, you go first, and then Taylor.
Okay. I would like to try and restore my strength, which I think is just because this is
Yeah.
a long rest, but not a
Mhm.
full rest. It would be
Yeah.
rolling a d6 to the attribute score. I just wanted to be transparent about that and say that I was going to be
Yes.
trying to do it.
Yeah. So
I
you're
only
all
got
taking a long rest, which is 1 watch. Yeah.
Yeah. I sadly only got a 1, so I am back up to 8 out of 10. Not the full 10.
Not your full strength. Yeah.
But I think that our HP automatically refills as we level. Well, I actually.
Yes. Yeah. Let's say yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. That was it. Sorry.
Yeah. Anyone else who's also doing that can also, yeah, on a long rest you can restore d6 to an attribute score. And Taylor, do you have a question?
Yes, I did. So one of the things that Apple had found were those 2 crystals.
Yes.
Which I could still take back. I would have been encumbered on the way back anyway because I had the injured condition, and to my understanding that means I can still carry more things. I just am encumbered. So Apple would have taken those since we're getting the ride, as long as it wouldn't have caused a problem with, because the crystals belonged to the witch. So like if she would have noticed or been like upset about me taking them, then I don't think Apple would have, but like if it seems like the witch wouldn't notice or mind.
Yeah, no, I think that's fine. I think if she sees you with them, she'd just be like, oh, I can see you've already been using them. They're obviously helpful. You can keep those. Yeah.
Cool.
Question. Is anyone particularly attached to the catnip spell?
Oh, I don't know that we need it now that we're kind of allied with the cat. I don't think it works on foxes.
It does not.
Depending on how well either Philippa or I roll on it, we might be able to get a decent amount of money out of it because we haven't used it, so it's fully maxed out.
Yes, you are correct. So yeah, a fully charged spell can usually be sold for d6 times 100 pips in a settlement. So
why I'm like, well, we're in a settlement and we can get some supplies. I'm gonna go take a look at what either attracts a raven or what pisses off a fox.
Yes. Ooh, that's a good question. I think if you're doing a bit of research, Susie, you find that ravens would be attracted, similar to sort of magpies and other corvids, shiny things, little treasures, little trinkets, collectibles, things like that.
Might have some thoughts. Would you like me to roll for the selling of the spell, or
yeah, sure. If you wanna sell it,
this
yeah.
will tell us how many pips we get out of this, folks. Say goodbye to catnip. That's a 3. So that's
cool. 300
pips out of it. So let's see what we can get out of that.
And yeah, and I think just to sort of go really reasonably quickly, everyone is very happy to see you, of course. Also, you see that the potion has been kind of encroaching a little bit onto the garden, like seeping up the sides, and is getting a little close to Basildon Hall. And you see Lovage working away with those biceps to sort of like create like a little soil barrier around the edge of Basildon Hall to try and like make sure if it were to get higher up that it wouldn't affect them. No frogs are seen. And if you do ask about the frog, they say that none have been by. Of that frog that you sent through. Apparently didn't get to them. I wonder why.
I think the way that it comes up maybe is Apple says something to Lovage like in passing about like, oh, it's good that you had like extra time to like build this barrier.
Yeah, and he's like, no, we had to really rush once it started coming up the bank.
Apple just thinks about the frog, and I think she's worried something happened to him. I don't think she assumes that he didn't follow through, or that there was a misunderstanding. I think she's just like, the potion called to him once more.
Maybe.
But yeah,
I was actually wondering, Rue, would you be okay with having a scene between Susie and Elchie?
Yeah.
Because I think I realized what I can buy that could be useful, but also I found a couple things that could be useful, but one thing that I think Susie would think Elchie definitely deserves. Because what is the instrument again that you have that's broken, Elchie?
So LG has two. They use a electric banjo as a weapon that they like smashed like electric guitar style during some concert. And then they have their clarinet that is sometimes in pieces that they use to like play.
I'm imagining if it's like sort of like because we're doing the full like resting there, getting resupplied and stuff. I imagine it's just Susie going in like a very adorable. I think this is silly to imagine this. She saw a bunny once when she was younger, and so she had someone custom make like a little bit of like bunny onesie for her to wear as like PJs.
Cute.
So
my God.
she's just over there. So she's just her usual like Susie self, but she has like little bunny ears that are sized for a mouse. She's like, Alchie, are you awake? Hello? Hello?
I think you're saying that Elchie's just like on a bench outside somewhere. Like
there's some like room under
like...
the bramble netting. You could be laying out looking at the stars if you desire.
Yeah. Elchie's gonna like roll out from underneath it. Oh, Susie, yeah. Like the sword comes out first, and they're like, still trying to get used to this. Yes, slow.
Well, I was thinking, I want to ask you enough to play music when you can, and I actually really enjoy whenever you do it. It's one of my favorite things. Whenever I start feeling like I'm gonna be a bit overwhelmed in terms of sensory inputs and stuff, your music is very calming. Did you ever think about upgrading or finding a replacement for the ones you do have, the instruments?
I don't think I've ever really thought of that. I kind of have just had these for a really long time. These are the ones that were just given to me when I started up troubadouring around. So they're a little messed up, and you see them, and they got like little like they're like kind of strung together with like little strings and things that are like kind of keeping it together a little bit. You're like, ooh, that's that looks like it's about to break apart. And like you hear them kind of blow, and they're like, it does its job, and it kind of like an out of tune comes out of their clarinet as they play a little bit, and they're like, I just say that that's a part of the song when that happens, and they like go back to like trying to fix it up a little bit.
She's just been like listening like very pensively, like a thing I don't think I mentioned when Susie listens to anyone talking. It's like the most attentive sort of expression on her face, like she could not give you any more care and focus, and you can tell it's probably very hard for her to do it, but she tries really hard to show her affection for the folks she cares about. But she's like, so I went and did something. I hope you're okay with it. I didn't want to assume you'd necessarily want a replacement, but I figured I might as well try anyways. And she sort of like pulls out of her bag just a long, like recently made clarinet, because I double checked the amount for musical instrument. It's 200 pips. So I can put 200 of the 300 I just sold and got from the spell to get you a new instrument so that you can start playing new songs without it being out of tune. And we'll figure out how to deal with the curse thing sooner or later so you can enjoy it to its fullest.
Like as LG sees it, they like immediately dump their clarinet aside. They're just like, forget this whole thing. And they're just like, let me try it. Let me give here. And then like almost like pull it out of your hands. They're like very excited. I don't think they tend to get gifts often, just because they don't stay in a place too long, that they're really making a like very like deep connections. Or if they do, it's like, oh yeah, I saw them like 2 seasons ago and I hope they're doing well. So this is kind of a rare thing. So they're just like, I think they're kind of like a kid in the way that they react, because they're just like overwhelming, happy, don't know how to compute, don't know how to be gracious, just want the new thing. And I think at this point, since they've had the sword kind of attached for a while, they've kind of learned to use the instruments like with it a little bit. Like they've kind of started to figure out how to like make it work a little. So they like
I imagine maybe
start
it's on your
playing a
paw,
tune.
so your like fingers are still free, so you can be like,
yeah. It's more just about like placement so that they're not like stabbing someone accidentally. And I think they just start playing a tune, especially since Susie said that it kind of like helps them a little bit, or helps her a little bit to like hear music and like, you know, with overstimulation. I think Elchie also has a similar thing where like playing music kind of gives her something to do when like the emotions are a little too much. So they're just like, yeah, I'll play this out now. I don't know if I have any more words to say, so I'm just gonna play us out.
Yeah,
Oh.
I think she listens as long as you play for, and then she just says, you know, you're always the most willing to get to try stuff and get into trouble. And while sometimes I think it's kind of foolish, I never stop thinking it's pretty neat. I like that kind of bravery, and I hope that I can be as brave as you are. Um, you know, as time passes, you always have such a good spirit, even when it sometimes leads to people having issues with you that I don't quite understand. I'm still very confused about, was it an otter? I'm like just back to the person she's staring daggers at.
She's like, the music like goes sharp for a second. They're like, that otter. Yeah, they're like, yeah, I guess I've always been really curious, and I just like to know how things happen for myself, which I used to get. A lot of people don't seem to really appreciate that, but I think it leads to more adventures and is more interesting. And I don't know, going to new places would be a lot scarier if I wasn't willing to just try new weird experiences. But I always appreciate that being around you and everyone else like helps me calm those feelings down afterwards, because sometimes I get really stressed out afterwards, but I feel like I have to keep seeming like it's all good to go because I made a decision. But hearing y'all talk afterwards with more reasonable choices makes me feel better.
Well,
And you can tell that to Tabitha and Apple. I don't mind if they know.
well, I have to go see them too before I go to bed, because we probably have a big day tomorrow. Susie is just pulling out her bag, which she set down all of her stuff in her own room, which I come to think that I don't know if she has her own specific space
think
here. She's just
you have
she has
a
a
room
space she
in-
calls her room.
You have a room in Basildon Hall, that is like the
Mm.
librarian's room, but Lady Periwinkle has let you stay in there because they don't have another
Aw.
librarian, even though you're technically the ex-librarian.
Yeah, and I think she starts like hopping off, and she like very quickly like almost leaves like a dust cloud speed because she realizes it's starting to get late. So she goes over to Tabitha's room. Which is Tabitha over back at the cider house?
Yeah, the Applewood Inn. I actually had a little request because that was my heart grew like 16 sizes over the course of that conversation. And I was wondering, a request of the cast and Philippa, what I'd really like before we go back out into our big dangerous adventures is if maybe towards the end of our stay, Tabitha invites you all around for dinner at the Applewood Inn and kind of reserves us a room upstairs and puts on a big meal and invites Elchie to play music and pours us all cider and lights the fire in the little inn and like has us all sitting down just because she feels very close to all of you and she just wants to make you all food, and instead of kind of like relying on anyone else helping out in the kitchen, Tabitha makes everything herself, and she kind of does her own kind of family recipes and little like things that she's trying, new dishes that she wants Elchie and Apple's opinions on as people who are worldly and traveled, and like she's got this little new menu design where she's been inspired by Susie with little quotes for each meal that like is a thing for you to think about whilst you're eating them, and it's things about like growth and harvest and change and endings. And she kind of has this very like, as much as she's quite frank, she's also quite a kind of pragmatic, almost kind of emotionally shy person, so she doesn't really go up to you all and say like, oh, you make me feel lots of things, but she's just very attentive about all of you, and she kind of makes a point of like giving you all food, and she just wants to feed you and have you around for dinner and talk to you and laugh with you and sing with you and sit next to the fire with you. Yeah.
I think time-wise, maybe Elchie and Susie, you could have had your little conversation and clarinet sesh before heading over to this lovely spread put on by Tabitha. And so, Elchie, you also have your new clarinet, if you wish to regale everyone with more tunes as well.
And Susie, the other thing that I bought, well, I bought two other things. One was specifically for Apple, for in case just dealing with all of us at some points, because I think Susie thinks of Apple as like, you deal with a lot of us just kind of having to be, I imagine it's like the mom with the leashes on the kids, like trying to drag them along to plot and get like not getting off track sometimes. Just like, so she went and I think she found someone who, whatever Apple's favorite scent is,
I feel like it's
she
probably
went,
apples.
well, there you go. She actually went to someone and bought an incense stick that smells very very warmly of apple and cinnamon. And the other thing, with my last 100 pips that I have available, because she just saw Tabitha bleeding out today and dealing with water-based shenanigans, she got you a waterproof cloak.
Oh, thank you.
So yeah, Susie's just sitting around just eating food, and she's being her usual self, like she's done nothing particularly special. But whenever she like gets to sit down and is like writing stuff, she just has a big smile on her face.
I want to add a detail for dinner, which is like after we've had our main meal, gonna bring out a little apple pie. And I think definitely I don't know about the others, but I think throughout the dinner, Tabitha keeps like making little comments being like, you know, Elchie, I so love your music, and you never know how to ask when you have friends who are performers, because you don't want to put them on the spot, but you want to make sure that they know that you would love it if they performed, but also that they don't have to if they're feeling tired for any reason, like that kind of thing the whole way through dinner. But at the end, like brings out this little like apple pie. And you know how you can make little pastry shapes on the top of an apple pie? So it's got like a little lattice. And each of the corners of the pie, there's like a little book for Susie. There's a little like a clarinet for Elchie. There's like a little hammer for Apple. And I give you all your little slices with your little things. And I've fully just done a tankard for Azalea. But like give you all your little things, and she just kind of like pats down her apron with her little flowery mouse paws, and then she says, "We never went on adventures, and perhaps I shouldn't have." And she kind of touches her sore side, which is still healing. Then she goes, "But you all inspire me. And a mouse does not have a long life, but we can hope it's an interesting one. And I'm glad that the last few days have been interesting with you all. So thank you."
That seems like a good place to have our break, because that was delightful. All of that, I loved all of that. It was amazing. And perhaps as watchers, as you listen to the lovely music over the break, which is Angela's doing, you can imagine it is Elchie playing away on their clarinet. So we'll be back in about 5-10 minutes. Don't go anywhere, and we will be back after the break. So bye bye. Hello. Welcome back to Girls Run These Worlds. We're playing some Mausritter, Mice in the Herb Garden. We've just had some wonderful, lovely scenes with our little mice as they were recuperating at Basildon Hall after talking to Saskia the cat, who is also the human witch transformed. So they've just had a lovely dinner at the Applewood Inn, hosted by Tabitha. They received some gifts from Susie, and Archie played them a beautiful song, and Apple kept them all company, and yes, agreed perhaps to being the resident mouse mum, looking after everybody. During our break, our players have quickly sorted out some of their inventory stuff. We won't go through that because it's a lot of moving things around, but safe to say everyone is no longer encumbered, which is nice, and prepared for some more exploration. So, is there anything else, just very briefly, that you'd want to do at Basildon Hall? I think you can see that all of the mice, when you kind of get up, are preparing for basically dealing with that potion, and you can also pass on to Lady Periwinkle about any other information if you would like about what's been going on, basically.
I think that definitely telling Lady Periwinkle, although I'm wondering if maybe it makes more sense for Susie since she lives in the hall. But and I just wanted to note, because I think it's, well, it entertains me, that Tabitha didn't really heal much of her strength, and the way that I'm choosing to read that flavorfully is that every day when she wasn't at the Applewood Inn, she went to go help Lovage with building the barrier, and it's because she doesn't really know how to flirt in a kind of very, I'm a queer woman, lesbians, we sometimes struggle with the flirting side of things. And so basically what Tabitha does is just turn up at the wall next to where Lovage is and just like packs it up instead of like
Yes.
actually flirting. So just every day, even though she's injured and she doesn't say she's injured, she's just like every day she's just like, oh, I fancy seeing you here. You know, I just think it's important to defend the community, and just
Yes.
does that, but strains her kind of injury a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, just to confirm, you're only resting for that one night because it's a long rest. So yeah, you can kind of basically get up a bit early, not fully rested, and oh no, strain, whoopsie. But yeah, Lovage is like, well, thank you very much for your help, Tabitha. It's very, very helpful. Let's put on this handsome voice.
Well, you know, I mean, what are these mouse arms for? If not for creating. Anyway, I need to go check the cider.
Very good. Well, maybe I'll come back later. Although I heard you might be out on some more adventures soon.
Well, I am an adventurer now, you see. I'm a very cosmopolitan mouse, but I suppose if you could find me at the inn, I might be able to perhaps give you a discount. I mean, I couldn't every night because that would tank the inn's sort of finances, but maybe.
Well, yeah. Well, thank you for, and I should say thank you also for delivering those herbs. That was very helpful.
Oh, yes. Well, you see, yes. Well, you know what? Well, Elchie and Apple actually, they really help with the negotiations. You see, because I'm a discerning mouse who has good friends and also can haggle and also can carry herbs if you ever need that in future.
I'll keep it
got
in
my
mind.
strong mouse arms. Yeah.
They are very strong. Thank you, Tabitha. Have a good day. Turns back.
When he says they are very strong, Tabitha does the mouse equivalent of a blush, which since she has, but I think it's just like her ears twitch and her whiskers twitch and her nose twitches, and she just like has a little bit of a like, and like yeah, like bunch of little cartoon hearts.
He goes back to shoveling the soil. He's like, wow, those mousy arms are so strong. He's got his little mouse shirt off.
Yeah, Tabitha fully just like. Oh.
You see several other mice are also like watching from behind the flower pots, like, oh. Okay, so yeah, and you relay obviously presumably what's been happening to Lady Periwinkle so she can kind of inform everyone, like, yes, the potion is coming, because obviously the frog message didn't get through. And Saskia is waiting for you. Again, a little way away from Basildon, so as not to sort of disturb everyone. Although I assume perhaps you let everyone know, like, not so much of a threat as we thought. And again, offers you a lift over to, I'll just show you where you're going. If you wish to go to speak to the ravens, that is, you can choose to do something else, of course. But here's the garden, and the ravens are over here. So Saskia will take you out round the side of the house and then through the front garden over to a large tree if you so desire. Again, lovely soft fare this time. Nice gentle ride compared to the brisk pace that was Merida. And yeah, takes you around the side of the house and to a very large oak tree. And you see behind it is also this sort of dry stone wall. And you hear in the distance that of the great woolen ones, the sheep in the fields beyond. And yeah, you see a big old tree, which you can just kind of see all of it. So I'm not doing fog of war this time because you can kind of stare up at it. Obviously, it's a bit more of an upwards angle for you as mice, but you can see that there's in the branches are lots and lots and lots of birds. Sparrows, magpies, little blue tits, and some ravens as well, all looking down. And you can see wedged in the center of the tree, where a lot of the branches are growing out, is a stone bird bath that has been wedged in between some of the branches that have then kind of grown around it and encased it and is slightly full of water. And you can see also, sorry, I should say, at the base of the tree trunk is kind of covered in like vines and things kind of going around it as well, that kind of lead up into the branches.
That's so cool.
Saskia sort of motions for you to get off and explains like we'll need to climb up. I usually use these vines for support, and yeah, starts running up basically. But of course she's a cat; she goes a lot faster than you, and yeah, pulls herself up into the tree and then sits on a branch and looks down at you. Is like, "Come on, I can't take you on my back; you'd fall off."
Do we see any ravens? Did you say?
Yes, yeah,
okay,
you can see there are 3 ravens sitting by the bird bath, sort of looking down at you all, and you see Saskia talking to them and sort of motioning down to you with her paw as
well. Apple brought the bubble gum with
yes.
her. So I think if we're climbing up, is definitely for herself going to get some gum, get some gummy hands going, and also for anyone else who would like to use it. She'll offer it around.
I think Tabitha's a bit bashful, but it's like I'm still a little sore from the encounter with the fly, so I would appreciate any help that can be given. So I'll take some if that's all right, please.
Yeah, I break off like a piece and pass it over to you.
Thank you.
I think again marker usage on the gum
The
too.
gum, yep.
Yeah. But yeah, you can kind of chew it up so that everyone can grab a piece.
Apple's just like
lovely. Cool. In that case, with the bubble gum, it's actually not so difficult to climb up these vines. It does take a little bit of time, just to turn. Although, you slept until the morning, so it's nice and bright. Oh, well, I suppose. Sorry, I forgot. We should roll for weather, of course. How could I forget?
About to find out that it's like fully like
it's
hailing.
Absolutely tipping it down. That raincoat's been so useful.
More and more,
A snowstorm out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Truly, and like, thank you so much.
Just like,
Weather,
well,
here we go.
the positive end of it is that you're waterproof. The negative end, the more morbid end of it is that, well, if you start bleeding again, you can staunch up the blood ones with your cloak.
Keep it inside you.
Yeah, speaking of, Ella, why don't you do our weather for us? So, can you roll 2d6?
Oh, God. Okay. 7.
7. It's cool. It's a cool day.
I was so scared. My heart was pounding. I thought it was going to be like, I was going to doom us to a thunderstorm. Yeah, no, for real.
No, it's a cool day, cool autumn day. Yeah. So yes, you climb your way up, and luckily it's not raining, so it's not too difficult. It just takes a turn to climb up. And Yeah, so the main part of this tree has the bird bath. You can also see there's like one of the lower branches has been lopped off and has a sort of flat surface, and you can see there's sort of quite a few sparrows seem to be clustered around there. And then there's also some nests like throughout the tree along the branches as well, with some other birds sitting in the nests, sort of all watching you, beady-eyed, as you make your way up.
I think that like as we're climbing, Tabitha kind of looks at Elchie, who I agreed with Susie/Angela. Like it's very much I feel the courage. And it's just kind of like, Elchie, I admit, being around this many winged creatures makes me fear for both my body and my soul. And I don't know how to find the strength to continue on.
Yes, running through your head, Tabitha, you remember that all birds need to be stopped. Which
All
was happened
birds.
only yesterday.
They're soulless beasts which have made pacts with devils.
I love this new discovery about Tabitha. Just like anything that flies.
I think Apple, like, in contrast, has had some success with just, like, talking to different kinds of animals, and so is trying to, like, say hello to the birds, and just kind of, like, you know, like, when you're, like, taking a walk and you pass someone, and you're just like, hello there, hello, like, that kind of thing. It's just, like, climbing and trying to say hello to the birds.
It's like visiting like a new country or something, and you're just like, hey.
Yeah, a few of the birds like with their wings like, hello.
I say cheep cheep back. Assuming that if Apple's like in her mind like they said it to me, should I be offended?
What are they saying?
I just repeated back what they said.
They're like tittering under their wings. Like...
We learned that bird song is a tonal language, and so like the way that they said it was polite, but the way you said it was very rude.
Apple's just like cheep cheep.
They're like, oh. I think Elchie, in response to Tabitha, has also kind of been like side-eyeing the birds. Elchie is getting very like for this anti-flying stance that we're slowly getting into. And it's just like I don't know. I think we should be and like kind of steals themselves a little bit. It's just like we came here on a mission. We're gonna do this mission, Tabitha. We're gonna finish this for all the mice in Basildon and everywhere else.
For all the mice in Basildon. You're right, my brave friend. I don't know what we do without you.
Yeah.
Continue
just like
climbing angrily.
Random battle cry.
Rage climbing.
what I really like is that it's like you do your rage cry and Tabitha mimics you, but then we zoom out and there's just these tiny mice on this big tree getting smaller and smaller, and the cry gets smaller and smaller in context.
It's just like the tiniest squeak.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you sorry, I'm stuffing. There we go. You finish climbing up this tall tree trunk. Elchie's little battle cry ringing over the branches, and all the birds are like. And you catch up where Saskia has been sitting with 3 ravens, and you can see they're all dressed. I'll just say it, they're just very gothy. So like one's got like a little sort of like ruby diadem and like a little ruby ring, and one of the others has got this like red velvet cape across his wings, and the third has got like a sort of like a little medallion with like a sort of like oh gosh, you know, like those Victorian ones that have little faces carved on, but it's like a face of another bird. You see there's like a little bit of tuft of feather that's been inside, and they're all standing on the edge of this pool sort of staring at you like and you see Saskia taps at her spell tablet again, and you kind of like suddenly understand all of the birds around you, and you can hear some of them being like, "Can you believe they said that? Oh my goodness! Like you'd think they'd know how to speak bird if they were coming here." And others being like, "I'm really excited for the one with a sword on their paw." And yeah, and then you see the closest raven sort of like, "Welcome, welcome to our humble perch."
Thank you for having us. Apple is assuming that this is her suddenly being able to understand, not because of magic, but just because she's
Just so
good with languages.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's all becoming clear to me, and says, "Yeah, thank you for having us in your home."
And the raven, he does like he's the one wearing the red cape. He does like this big bow with his wings, and he's like, "Pleased to meet you. My name is Raban," and he gestures to the other two. The other with the little necklace, he says, "This is Edgar," and then he gestures to the one with the diadem, "And this is Cassandra. We are very pleased to make your acquaintance." He bows again. And sort of looks at you expectantly.
Yeah, Apple says, "I'm Apple Fritter." Kind of like looks around so the rest can introduce themselves.
My name is Tabitha, and I'm so sorry. I have to ask, and I don't know if it's rude to cite the deep magics to you, but Edgar, did you ever once speak to a human and say a certain? Do you have a certain sort of conversation?
A long time ago, I knocked at a chamber door. Yes, I did. Yes.
And did you say nevermore?
I believe I did. Are you too gifted with the prophecy, Tabitha? It's very impressive.
No, I just had this recurring dream for many
Oh.
years.
That could be prophecy, you know. You must listen out for these things, says Edgar.
I will, apparently. Although I admit mostly my recurrent dream sort of started with the bird bit and then it would go a little bit silly. There would be sort of mice and they wanted to take over the world, and then it would switch again and it would turn into sort of mice in a different set. And then only this time there we were on an adventure and they were saving someone from some trouble, and then it would switch again and then they'd be doing so. It's yeah.
Dreams and prophecy are often both very confusing, says Edgar. Also, I think you see the third raven with the little diadem, Cassandra. She sort of sniffly looks at you and she goes, "It is also tradition for you to bow in return."
I okay, and Tabitha does, but like on one side because the other side has her wound.
Yeah.
So she's just like, oh. And then just kind of like looks to the side to Elchie and says very quietly, "Godless beasts."
Yeah, I think LT is kind of attempting to match the tone that they're having. So they're just like, "I'm Elchie Morrow," and like tries to like deepen their voice a little, and like also does a very attempt at a bow that looks as fancy, but probably like comes off a little weird.
"Ah, very nice to meet you, Elchie Morrow. Morrow, like tomorrow. Maybe you two are gifted with the prophecy."
Nope, not me.
Well, you never know.
She does side eye to Tabitha, like, all right. This is where we're at.
I think Susie like pipes up now at this time. Has just been sort of observing how Tabitha is taking the situation, how Apple is responding, and how Elchie's taking it. She's like, "I have no frame of reference for what the social script's supposed to be, so here goes nothing." Greetings. It's an absolute pleasure to meet the three of you. My name is Susie Fayhart. We come here with interest in speaking more about a prophecy that I have a portion of, and also perhaps coming to an arrangement about a certain being that is nearby. Did I do that correctly? Is this how we're supposed to do it? And she does
They're
like
all
a very
they're all
like
bowing
perfect
excitedly.
replication
Yeah.
of the bow.
Oh, very good,
It's like,
very good. Even Cassandra looks like, oh, impressive. Yes, very good. And Pan, he's like, yes, very, very good. Nice to meet you, Susie Fayhart. May we see your prophecy? And he proffers both wings out to take your part of the prophecy to compare it. And you see, there's also built into like one of the tree trunks is like a little sort of scroll bookcase with other little bits of prophecies written on.
he walks forward and she just hands over her scrap, which you can tell there's probably not the ravens, but everyone else the party can see she's like hand is slightly shaky, giving it over. It's just like, this is my the equivalent of like a kid having to give up their stuffed animal that they've held onto for like 6 years. It's ratted, it's moldy, which is like, no, it's my toy, but here, I'll give it up.
Thank you. We will take good care of it. And he takes it and he sort of holds it over to the other three and they start sort of flicking through. Lifts up one feather on a wing and they rifle through the scroll bookcase and they pull out, you see a matching piece, the second half of this prophecy. And before you can stop them, they throw both pieces into the bird pool, which is full of water. And you see the pages sort of spread out onto it. And they go, do not worry, it will not affect them. Please gather round. And they sort of beckon you with their wings to come and stare into the pool. And they especially beckon at you, Susie, to come close. And they're like, come close, you have guarded your part closely. You should see this. And they encourage you all to look into the pool.
Definitely a moment where she reflexively like leans out to grab something to steady herself. I think she probably ended up grabbing Tabitha's side where her wounds are. It's just like, it's like whatever 9 strength full capacity like death claw grip on the side of Tabitha is just like, that sounds good.
It's like, and Tabitha sounds like winded, like but also doesn't move away. It's the kind of, when someone's squeezing your hand and they're breaking your hand, but you're still letting them hold it. So like Tabitha's like, Susie needs this. Stay strong.
I don't need my lungs. My lungs are irrelevant to the situation. He walks forward.
And
a little excited waddle.
Yeah, they sort of usher you closer. And you also see the other thing in these branches, you see there's some like wind chimes and things. And the ravens kind of like position themselves around the pool with you all staring in. And they start flapping their wings and it makes the wind chimes start making some noise. And the papers ripple in the water. And as you're sort of staring in, you think you see almost an image forming in the pool. And you start seeing first what Susie has read before, the founding of Basildon Hall. You see, the ancestors of Lady Periwinkle and the other mice working together to build up the initial Basildon Hall, which was initially a very large flower pot and then eventually got replaced by the cardboard box. And you see the ravens carrying in materials and things like that. And then it gets to the part where normally it would be broken. There's a slight ripple in the water as the pages merge back together. And you see the future of Basildon Hall, which is a little more fuzzy because, of course, the future is always uncertain. But you see 5 small mice bravely venturing out. And you see the settlement being initially one ripple of the water goes and you see a great flood of river water and potion riding over Basildon Hall, but then it ripples and this time the water is clear and does not spill over into Basildon Hall. And as you're watching, the ravens are sort of talking and say, yes, this is very interesting. 2 ways this could go, but I fear we must be careful of a great flood of poison. Could overcome Basildon Hall, and that could be its end, or it could just be the beginning of a second part of the story. Who knows? I think perhaps a great choice is ahead of you. And the water stops rippling, and they lift the book out, now bound back together, and hand it back to you, Susie. And now I'll stop showing off with my prose. What do you say?
I think she doesn't say anything for like a good minute or two because she actually has full-on tears in her eyes because she's been working on this for ages. Like finding the other piece of this. She's been like literally scouring trash cans and what have you. She didn't really care what other people thought. She just wanted to do this, and now she's done the thing, and now she's having that feeling of like, what do I do next? I
What
don't
do I
know
do
how
with
to
my
process
life?
what comes next other than, oh God, this is terrifying, but also I'm so happy. Thank you very much, wise ravens of prophecy.
They bow again. You get the sense that there's a lot of bowing in this place.
Were they raised Catholic by any chance?
They're just really fan of the wings.
Sorry, I had
If
to.
you had wings and a cape, you would bow all the time.
You would
too.
bow.
You know
all the
what?
time
You're
as well.
right. I'm not even gonna front. If I got to go places with a cape and I had wings to just show off, I'd just be doing the Dark Souls meme strut dance. The Raven just be like this. Like, there's wings are cool. Birds are cool. I think she just continues and says, we know of a terrible possible threat. Well, we know of a confirmed threat that could end up facing Basildon Hall and really the area around here as well. And she like takes the time to inform them of like the potion, and she doesn't know if Saskia has talked to them fully yet, but she makes it clear like her intentions are to help Saskia.
Yeah.
As far as we know, we were interested in knowing if they would also help us for the sake of their own home and well-being, and also in dispelling a threat in Merida, because I think she makes it clear that as much as she tries to abide by promises, because for her promises are like a reverent prayer and oath to a deity, which is to say you don't break them. Merida doesn't seem like a very good person, and technically, as she has been advised by her legal counsel, which is to say, Applefritter, a contract made under duress is invalid. Therefore, by nature of rules and scripts, I am not required to follow it.
They all three nod as if like, yes, of course, that makes sense. You get the sense that maybe they hadn't known all of that, but they're definitely pretending that they do if they didn't know. Yes, very wise, very well said. Yes, I agree, Apple. Very good point. A contract made under duress perhaps should not be enforced. Yes.
Apple is also nodding. And...
They're all like folded their like,
yeah, everyone's pretending that they already know everything.
Saskia sort of pipes up and is like, the other prophecy is relevant. And they're like, oh, yes, the other prophecy. Would you like to see it? It concerns Merida.
Yeah. It was
then they
cool
also...
to see the first one, so even if it wasn't relevant,
yes,
I
it
think
is
I'd
cool,
like
isn't
to
it?
see...
Thank you, Apple. Yes. We shall see the second prophecy. And then they all stand still, and then they all look at each other like, no, you go. No, you. No, it's your turn. And then eventually, Cassandra's like, oh, and goes and gets another prophecy down. And
look less cool right now.
Yeah.
It's your turn. Be cool, man.
The second prophecy. You wish to see it? And again, this time it's a bit less impressive because they've been all squabbling amongst each other, but it's like the wind, and they invite you all to look in again, and again it ripples on the water, and then they become a bit more solemn. It's like, and this one is even more fuzzy. It's kind of flashing up a couple of different scenes that seem to be sort of like confused with each other, and they explain as they're sort of putting it into the water that this one we're not sure. There are several paths that this could take, and it shows the forest around the cottage that you've been exploring in being chopped down by humans with diggers and axes, and being turned into a new build suburban complex. And that part is clear, but the beginning that leads to that is very fuzzy. Part of it shows Merida running towards the river. Part of it shows Saskia messing with the potion herself. And it's unclear what was the start of this possible future. That is the second prophecy.
No, I don't pretend to know I know the dark magics of the birds. But losing the forest cannot possibly be good for any of us, including your people.
Indeed, no, it would be a terrible tragedy.
Well, we have to stop it. How do we stop it? Tabitha looks at Saskia and says, "You say you're a human. Human. How would we stop him from cutting down our forest?"
I mean, if it got to that point, says Saskia, I'm not sure I would be able to stop other people if they wanted to cut down the forest. I can see that I'm possibly involved, although the Ravens won't tell me any more details in case it were to mess anything up. But all I can see is that it's got something to do with this potion, and we need to be very careful.
But you're a witch. For us, you have magic. For us, people with magic, it have enormous influence over society. Why can't you do anything?
I mean, enormous influence over mouse society because you already know about magic, but I can't let other humans know that I'm a witch. Otherwise, they might come and investigate. I practice a lot of this in secret with my other witches. Sorry, I didn't hear you there, Taylor.
Apple said other witches.
Yes, other human witches.
If there's others of you, couldn't you all work? I mean, why would humans? You understand about humans. Why would they want to chop down the forest? What would lead to that from your potion?
I mean, I wouldn't want to do that, but if they thought that there was some sort of environmental hazard, they might come in and clear it up. And the other thing is, if they thought the area looked good, they might just decide to, chop it all down. It's not owned by me. The owners could come and decide to, change it all.
Do you think that there's a chance that Merida wants to protect the forest? I mean, I don't think she cares about us, but perhaps she cares about her own home. Perhaps the reason that she wants to become a human is so that she can do something to stop him or distract him or.
Raban pipes up and says, Merida has never seen this prophecy. We wouldn't allow it. Or we think that if she were to see it, she would maybe try and change it, which could in fact make it happen. We're certainly worried about her actions in it, though.
But Saskia, the forest is where the life comes from. It's where we get our wood for our houses and our food, and it's where we live and where we sleep. And you can't just. Humans are only one animal. There are other animals. There are so many animals that live in the forest.
That's why I try and protect it with my magic. Normally, when I'm a human, I make sure that the bees are getting enough honey and pollen, and I make sure that there is wood and flowers and things available for the mice, and I protect the forest. But obviously, right now, as a cat, I can't do anything. And if there's too many other people, there's only so much I can do.
We need to turn you back. We need to turn you back as soon as we can. So how do we do that?
Well, if I might be allowed to have access to your potion sample, Elchie, that would give me just enough to turn back. The thing is, I think Merida is not going to be pleased to see me. I think it might need to be a group effort to stop her from trying to get more of this potion herself.
All right.
I think LG pulls it out pretty quickly. It is like, here, stop whatever that was from happening. That was horrible to watch.
Very well, and she takes it, and I think she says, I'll take it when I get out of the tree.
That seems sensible.
Also, once I'm human, I may not be able to understand you all anymore, so we may want to speak before I change back. As you're all saying this, you also see Cassandra has been sort of beckoning over some other birds, and you see a sort of very plump sparrow wearing a striped neckerchief has kind of hopped forward from one of the other branches and is like, "What ho, yes, Captain Gould reporting for duty." And Cassandra's like, thank you, Captain Gould. Yes, thank you, thank you. And then he does this with like little salute. And he's like, "Yes, Madam Cassandra, how can I help?" And Cassandra introduces you all to Captain Gould, who is the captain of the Sparrow Flying Corps. And she explains, perhaps the sparrows may also be able to help us here.
Well, in fact, I was thinking about this. You see, and I say that I mean no offense. Again, I have great respect for your strange and terrible powers. But I have to admit that I have a certain healthy and deep and profound disquiet around the strange magics of flight. This set,
Quite understandable, says Captain Gould.
it's an unholy power. Anyway,
Indeed, we throw ourselves at the ground and then we don't hit it. Quite agree with you, madam.
I know. And you can come in from any angle. Any angle. Normally, I think, when I'm standing on the ground, nothing can come from beneath me but in the air. In the air,
Indeed.
there is no such defense.
3-dimensional chess, what ho?
3-dimensional. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. And it
Must always be prepared for an attack at any time.
Yes, you're right. Tabitha starts looking around as well.
I think Apple puts a hand is like this is getting Tabitha riled up in the wrong way. So puts a hand on Tabitha's very carefully, not any injuries, but on Tabitha's back and says, "I mean, we're not in the air right now, and I just want to remind you that while you had an experience in the sky, it could be argued had a bad experience because I wasn't flying. So there are different sides to be considered."
That's a fair point. And speaking of different sides to be considered, we went to an observatory full of mice who understand science and magic and all have potions that they've been brewing and examining and investigating. And it occurs to me that perhaps, in combination with the sparrows, an airborne assault of potions and brews from the observatory mice who have many good reasons to perhaps have some resentment against Merida for the ways in which she's treated them could be quite an effective sort of measure. Also, if they're flying, it's going to be harder for Merida to attack them, so they would have less fear of repercussion. And we have at least one of us with a very good ranged missile launcher.
All the ravens nod sagely. Yes, Captain Gould. Ah, an excellent tactician you will make yet, madam.
I think Apple turns to the witch and says, if one of the things we all want to get the potion cleared up out of the water, and Tabitha just made this occurred to me, was that if we did have some people who were flying, do you think there's any way that there's something that we could drop in the water to neutralize from above? And so maybe some kind of potion that we could fly by with some other birds? That would be much faster than trying to scoop it all out. I don't know if a potion like that exists, but maybe something that we could sprinkle to, kind of like when it's icy, you sprinkle salt and that gets rid of the ice. If there was something we could sprinkle on the potion to get rid of the potion or neutralize it.
Saskia sort of taps a claw to her mouth, thinking. And I think, again, Susie, your research here, I think, is going to come up tops here. Researching over at the observatory, you spend that time reading that book, and I think you remember that one of the things that is quite good at deactivating other chemicals is charcoal. And you think, maybe that might be something we could, sort of scatter in to sort of soak up the potion and deactivate it. You also think a lot of water would also dilute it enough so that it's no longer a problem. at the source.
I think Susie will mention both of those things and express a certain level of hesitation about the water option, given that we just saw a prophecy of Basildon Hall being washed away by clean water.
It's very true.
Not me looking at Philippa like, damn, I almost got you.
Actually, I hadn't thought of that. So that's a very good point.
This is proof that the players are always far more infinitely more paranoid.
Exactly.
Than the
Yeah,
GM
now you
is
said
about
that, I'm like, oh yeah.
I think the other thing Apple mentions, thinking of the observatory, after Susie says that, and as we're all kind of talking, says the observatory mice did have that spell that could make them giant as well. So I don't know if that could help with sprinkling the charcoal or whatever it is that we're doing. A giant mouse could probably cover more ground than a little mouse.
Tabitha pulls out of her pack a match which is as big as she is, but it's like, I do have a way of starting fires. I don't know why, I just thought perhaps it might be helpful. I was trying to take a leaf out of Elchie's book.
Elchie's right there with you. They're just hyping you up in the background.
So we could set fire to something that we don't mind setting fire to create the charcoal in the first place, then pick it up with perhaps Captain Gold, your help, and then scatter, maybe make the bird or the mouse real big, scatter the charcoal in the river.
Yes. Saskia also says, if I've turned back human, I could also scatter some of the charcoal as well. That would work. I could do it on the potion inside the cottage while you were focusing on the river.
I think like Tabitha like wobbles over to Saskia and like kind of pats her tiny mouse paw on Saskia's huge cat paw, and it's like, you're a human, but I do appreciate you taking this much care to work with us little folk. We are all in the forest together, and the mice of Basildon Hall will not forget this.
I'm very pleased because I've always seen you making a life in Basildon and thought I would have loved to talk to you all, but of course I knew you'd be scared of me if I were to come too close. But perhaps now I can leave you little things and I'll work out a way to keep talking to you when I change back.
You can write us little notes. The main reason why we can't read what you write is just because it's so big. But if you wrote it very
I could work out how to make it
small...
smaller. Yeah. I'll type it on the computer in size 4 font. That'll work.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
No, sorry, of course you don't. I will write it very small. Okay, so just to zoom out for a second then. So you've got a few things you can do. You've got I think also Saskia notes that there is a log pile a little further along outside of the garden on the other side of the hedge that could be burnt. You've got Captain Gould and the Flying Corps are ready for whatever you'd like them to do, which basically means you've got a warband equivalent amount of resources at your disposal, which means you would be able to fight something that was warband scale, aka a fox or a cat if things change around. So you've got some resources. Also, if you included Basildon Hall, you could maybe have 2 sets of groups if you need to split them up. And you were talking about maybe going to the observatory to sort of talk to them as well, to maybe get them on side. So what do you kind of want to do first, I guess is my question.
I think it might be good to go to the observatory sooner rather than later, because the last thing we heard about the observatory is that Merida was going to go talk to them because she was displeased with them. So I think Apple kind of is like, maybe we should make sure they're okay. Since that was yesterday, I think it was mentioned. But I'm also like totally fine with with other things too. I think that would just be maybe something Apple would be thinking about.
That's a good idea. I was also thinking that I think it seems like the charcoal is the best option to clean up the river, but if for any reason Merida doesn't want us to clean up the river, then trying to create the charcoal could like attract her attention somehow. So we might want to make sure that we've stocked up our numbers before we start trying to create the charcoal, just in case she tries to turn up and stop us.
Yeah. Okay, so you're thinking head to the. Sorry, I missed a little bit of that last bit. You're going to head to the observatory first before you start the fire.
I think so.
Cool.
Unless
Okay.
anyone...
Sounds good. Captain Gould again hops forward and he says, "Would you like a lift?"
Apple is 100% down. Has had no bad experiences flying because she has not flown.
I mean, Tabitha recognizes that it would be faster, but like her whole body is like leaning backwards.
Tabitha, you said that you were thinking going to the observatory? Do I have that right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sorry,
Yeah.
that was me, Angela, asking the player. Sorry, yeah. I think Susie just like walks up to you and like slowly starts pressing your back and spine into proper alignment. and just like holds, if you're okay with it, Ella, I think she like holds your hand and she just goes, "Friend, this is a time in which we must seek a means to provide freedom to our fellow mousekin. There comes a time, and I believe it is this time, when the operation of the machine becomes so odious, it makes your heart so sick that you cannot take part, and that you have to indicate to everyone who runs it, to the people who own it, that unless we are free, you will all simply become part of this terrible fox-led machine that is putting many of our kin under duress. We must resist. We must be strong, and above all, we must be brave. We must rise up, friend."
Out of nowhere, Tabitha pulls a beret and puts it on her head. All right, let's do this.
Excellent. Yeah, I think again, Captain Gould was like, "Oh, very good, ma'am. Yes, this way." Hop, 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 hop. Leads you along to the cut-off branch where you can see there are some other sparrows gathering. You do see that they have some little like nets full of stuff as well, which includes some like little acorns that you can see they've got like the top of the acorn has kind of been popped off, and has got like looks like some liquid inside, and I'll just see how many there are. 3. There are 3 of these, and Captain Gould points them out and goes, "These may also be helpful in our exploits," and explains these are oak gall bombs. So oak gall is a type of ink that is quite acidic, and so these use at 1 slot. They're 1 use, and they do 20 damage because they're a bomb. And there are 3 of them. And then just a little bit of information for you on riding sparrows, if you so desire. When riding a sparrow, you can have 2 additional slots on the sparrow, which count as like the little wing bags under each wing. You can kind of help steer them the direction you want. They will fly themselves, but you can kind of encourage them one way or the other because you have like a little saddle. They can equip themselves with like a little saddle on their back, and you can like kind of steer with your legs. And they can also do like little swoop down dive bombs with these little acorn bombs. Also there are just one, you see there's like in another little net these like little pencil lead cannonballs, and there's like a little sack of them. There's 6 in a sack, which takes up 1 slot. There's 6 uses, and they do d8 damage if dropped from a height. So they've been like shaved into the shape of little balls that you can then like pelt down at people. So there's one of those.
So rad.
I got very
Like,
excited
so
thinking about this.
These are so cool, and also I have to say, I just need to make a request that when we see the bombs and we're told about the bombs, that
course.
like I have to just ask my fellow players if Tabitha, Apple, and Susie all just like slow-mo turn as one to look at Elchie.
That's their department. That's
Yeah, so
we should be in
sweeps
charge
a
of
wing,
that.
and then you all look at Elchie.
Elchie's just like, yeah, they're already on like a sparrow, completely have tossed aside their anti-flight philosophy.
Oh
The sparrow sort of turns around and offers a wing to shake your hand. It's like, nice to meet you. My name's Twilson.
Hello, take me to flight.
Very good.
I'm just being reminded of playing like God, what game was it? Like Spyro the Dragon and doing the like ring flying challenges
Yeah.
with all the different birds when you describe. Well, you can pilot the birds if you want. You're like, this is great. I'm a mouse piloting a sparrow. My dreams have been fulfilled. Nothing can beat this moment.
I'm imagining them as like little Spitfires, so we got like little aviator goggles on and
Yes.
everything, and it's just like
Yes, all of the birds have like little flying goggles and little neckerchiefs and little ties and things.
Oh.
So perfect.
Acorn launchers turned into like a World War II biplane.
Yeah, like they have like little like a machine gun acorn launchers. It's so good.
We should definitely take these resources. How are we defining them? There's Philippa, is it that an oak gold bomb, is it that one takes 1 slot?
1 takes 1 slot, yep, and each sparrow has 2 slots extra beyond your inventory as well.
And there are 3 bombs and then 1 bag of cannonballs, and the bag of cannonballs takes 1 slot, and that's 6 within it.
Yeah.
Cool. So who wants the cannonballs? Who's taking the bombs?
Anyone have like a preference for the cannonballs?
Elchie can take those if no one else has a preference.
You want the cannonballs, or does Elchie want a bomb?
Oh, that's true.
I mean, you could technically have both. I think Apple would maybe prefer the cannonballs.
Okay.
I think because even though the bombs are fun, I think Apple is like used to using a sling and stone, and so is like, this is kind of, I understand. I understand how this works. But if anybody else would like prefer the cannonballs, then someone else can take them. But
nope,
I think
I'm good. Sense. Yeah. Grabbing up that bomb. Elchie's like back off the sparrow and like carrying it in their arms.
Yeah.
Twilson again looks over his shoulder as you're sort of carefully stowing the bomb. And he says, "Oh, very good. Yes, they're very fun to use. The way to use them, give them a good twist when you're ready to merge those chemicals, and you see like the acorn like top has got like a sort of film over it, and there's like a different chemical inside. So when you twist them together, they're going to activate, and then you can like chuck them down."
This is so freaking cool, Philippa.
Yeah. Awesome.
The amount of thought you've put into all of these things is just I love it. Very cool.
To be fair, that one is from my dad making experimental bombs in the kitchen as a child and telling me about it.
Well,
That's
kudos
not
to your
that
dad.
surprising. The acorn launcher I have is just inspired by my friends and I in high school making a potato gun, so it's not that far off. But I do love the idea that Philippa is just randomly like just wakes up in the middle of the night and is like, what about if I gave my players bombs?
I mean, the bomb in general I've been thinking about for a while, because who doesn't love a bomb?
Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. Does it make sense that if Taylor's Apple's taking the cannonballs and there are 3 bombs, then me, Rue, and Angela each take a bomb? Because that just seems like a simple way to divide it up, if that's okay.
In terms of any planning we were doing for this last session, in terms of using the sparrows, I am very long distance in terms of my focus. And I think, not even from a practical sense, but solely from a cinematic sense, a small mouse riding a sparrow firing an acorn launcher is pretty up there in terms of what are your favorite experiences you'd like to say you've had in a TTRPG.
Last little bit I'll just do for you, remembering that we finished an hour earlier for me today compared to usual. So as you're kind of finishing loading up, I think you do spot there's one final net, which, let's say, Rue, can you roll me a d6? Let's see what is in this one.
Is a 3.
Okay. Ooh, cool. Okay, so Ouch, as you're finishing stowing the bomb, you notice in the 3rd net, there's a few more little bits and bobs. There's like just some like little sparrow clothing and things, and then on top of it you see what to you looks like an orange belt, but to humans is a ring. And just to credit this is from the Mayflower supplement, with a supplement written by Elo here, in the Mayflower zine. And this is the orange belt, which is a little ring with an amber gem. And it's called the Orange Belt of Greed. And as you if you go and have a little look at it, you see with this belt, you can steal an enemy's weapon from a distance as your action. You can't give away or discard any weapon taken this way.
Oh. Interesting. I love that LG is just getting things that are just like attached.
I mean, you don't have to keep it. You
like
can give it to someone else, but
they have an electromagnet in their hand. Like the snake fang becomes just like, it's just like increasingly like dunk dunk dunk.
And you can wear the Orange Belt of Greed on your inner body slot, like a little belt.
Ooh, cool.
So you just got this big ring. You can wear it like this big ring on your body, or whoever wants to take it.
Yeah, if anyone else wants it, I'll pass it off. But otherwise, Elchie will be like, more stuff.
It's too funny for Elchie not to have it, to be honest. Because anytime you take a weapon with it, you can't get rid of it. So you just have all your inventory filled up with weapons that you've stolen, yeah.
They're just like unattachable.
Yeah, just a sticky mouse. Like, get rid of things.
It's reminding me of the meme about like, you know, when I defeat people in battle, I take their pronouns. I have like 16 they thems, 25 she hers, like 18 Zezias. Like it's just LG is like, every time I defeat you in battle, I take everything from you. Like...
And I literally cannot drop these things.
The knife of never letting go.
Yeah, oh my god, nice reference.
Okay, I think then if that's all, you've kind of distributed the bombs and the pellets and things, you'll climb aboard your sparrows, who will greet you with a "What-ho, yes, good, good," and they'll sort of click their little claws together, and then they get a little run up on the branch, and for a moment, especially Tabitha, you're like, "Oh no!" An Apple, you're like, "We're falling," and then yes, we're flying, and you I'll put us back over onto the that's not right. There we go. The area map. As you fly again, you're traveling all over these fields in many different ways the past few days. And you fly, you see the sheep now quite far below you. They look quite small, and you fly over the field, back over the river, back towards the fallen log where the observatory mice are. And we will finish up as you're flying through the air, um, holding on to these little holding on to the little feathers of the sparrows. You look down and you see also running towards the observatory a streak of orange as Merida jumps over the river and starts running towards the log. Dun, dun, dun. And that's where we will finish today, and we'll pick it up in our final session next time. Lots and lots of exciting things for our mice to face. So thank you very much, audience, for watching. We're just going to do a little bit of a finishing up some information, firstly about our lovely players and a bit of information about them, and then a bit more information about the channel as well if you want to get involved in anything. So first, I'll go again. If you say who you are, where we can find you online, if you want to share any of that, and maybe one or two things that you're getting up to at the moment that you'd like to share with everyone. So again, I'll just go in the order I did before. So Taylor, if you want to start us off.
Hi, yes, I'm Taylor, use she, her pronouns. I've been playing Apple Fritter, who also uses she, her pronouns. You can find me other places online. If you follow me on Twitter, at @RollForFelicity, you can keep up with the stuff that I'm doing. I stream one-shots of different tabletop RPGs on Twitch, and then the VODs of that are on YouTube. All those places are Roll for Felicity. Some of the stuff I have coming up is I'm going to be running a one-shot of Babes in the Woods this month, and also I think Mausritter. I think one of my Mausritter games I'm going to be doing this month. But yeah, if you just follow me on Twitter, I'll put all of that stuff on there. And yeah, you'll see it.
Brilliant. Next up, Angela.
Hello there, lovelies. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here, and thank you again to all of our viewers and our raiders who came in at multiple times. We got raided like 3 times, I think, this stream, and it's been great. My name is Angela. I use she, her pronouns, and if you want to find me online, you can find my Twitter at Phoenix24FM, my Patreon at PhilosophyM, where all of my professional writing of poems, monster creations, and songs are. Or if you want to see my game design work, it's over at Voice of the Phoenix on itch.io. In terms of things I'm focusing on right now, this next coming up Saturday, I have my first game of Monster Care Squad of our series Year of the Tempest, where I'm very excited to share a story with not only my players, but share off the amazing characters, one of which is our own Rue here is going to be playing in that game as well. So I'm super excited to have her on board again. And most of my time outside of that is going to be working on a zine, because I am the director of operations over at Girls Write These Worlds, where we are in the midst of working on our first ever zine publication on Rebirth and New Beginnings. And I gotta tell you, having started some editing work on all of them, we have some great things to look forward to, y'all. You don't want to miss this. But that's me.
Very exciting. Ella.
So I'm Ella, I use she, her pronouns, is playing Tabitha. She also uses she, her. You can find me on social media at GEJWatts on Twitter and Instagram, where I talk about the stuff I do. I do arguably too many things. But if you would like me to, or if you would like to see me doing some RPG stuff, or hear me, then I do an RPG podcast called Realms of Peril and Glory, on which I have GM'd some Thirsty Sword Lesbians adventures, including a British parody of Buffy set in the Peak District, which is set in the town of Snowy Vale, which is kind of autumnal and spooky. It's called Spooky Sword Lesbians. And I play in a game of Agon, where I play Many-Wade Calliope, who is a queer he, she, they rogue who is many-wayed in many ways. And I also run some sci-fi horror if you want a complete tone change. But yeah, check out Realms of Peril and Glory. It's a cute, fun, free podcast if you want to see me doing other RPG things.
I'm just writing that down. I'm very excited. That sounds so cool. And finally, Rue.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rue. My pronouns are she, her, and I was playing El Chimaro, whose pronouns are she, they. You can find me on Twitter at Cherry Drop, and that has links to all the stuff I do. I am a game designer, a writer, and a stream producer at All Nerds Here and Valorous Games, although both are on hiatus right now. And you can find my games at rue7.itch.io. And currently, the only thing I really have coming up right now is that Monster Care Squad game starting this Saturday. I'm very excited to play. So ready for more shenanigans.
I'm excited to see it. It's going to be really good. Finally, my name's Philippa Moore. My pronouns are she, her. I've been GMing for you this evening. You can find me mostly on Twitter and TikTok at Mort Philippa, where I talk about various different games, and I also occasionally write games and supplements for them. For example, I've written a Mausritter adventure, which you can find on my itch.io. Also, if you're looking for other adventures, I do some stuff over on DM's Guild. And then I've also done some other little supplements, such as for Wander Home. So please do check them out if you're interested. Lastly, some little stuff about Girls Run These Worlds. If you've been enjoying this and you think, I'd like to do this, don't forget that you can go and look on the Girls Run These Worlds Twitter for the application form to pitch your own show. Which, I believe they're always looking for more, so go and do that. Also, casting this weekend is starting for A Very Humble Glowtide. Natalie Ghost Candle will be telling a 3-episode festive story with the 5e Humblewood supplement. So if you enjoy Mausritter, you might like Humblewood, where characters are adorable woodland creatures. If you're enjoying Mousy Vibes, then get an application in for that while you can. Also, coming up for the rest of this week, we've got Roll for Luck, which is a D&D show returning. The Family Business is continuing. I believe that's like the Children of the Gods. And Dead Man's Switch is going to be premiering as well. And obviously, Andrew is going to be running some Monster Care Squad. Finally, if you have been enjoying this tonight, but you've not caught up with the previous episodes, don't forget you can also watch this and other shows of Girls Run These Worlds over on the YouTube as well. So don't forget to follow on here and on YouTube. And if able, please do consider subscribing as well, because it helps out everyone on the show. With that, we will see you next week. UK and EU people were back to the normal time as the clocks come back into alignment for our final episode of Mausritter. I can't believe it that's happening already, but lots of exciting things are going to happen, I think. But until then, we shall say goodbye and see you next time.